Chapter 4, 113, Five Elements, True Nascent Art, Rivaling a Nascent Soul. In an instant, with the little five elements king at its core, the heavens and the earth transformed across 1,000 spans. The five elemental energies converged and merged with the little five elements. King's peak, golden core, magical power. At his dantian, a 3-inch golden core shone with perfect roundness, radiant and flowing with light, exuding brilliant vitality. The little five elements. King seemed to be in extreme agony, as if some power was burning within his blood, a power that did not originally belong to him, yet had briefly parasitized his bloodline. 5 drops of blood flew out. 5 drops of nascent soul essence blood, platinum, crimson fire, dark water, azure wood, yellow earth, burned forth from his bloodline. Boom, 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 boom. For 1,000 spans in every direction, the sea of clouds churned. Spiritual energy surged like a great river, sweeping through the surroundings. The 5 drops of nascent soul essence blood transformed into 500-meter giants, each possessing the cultivation of a false nascent. 500-meter giants of the false nascent realm towered in the sky, arrayed around the little five elements king, floating in mid-air. Go! The little five elements. King waved his hand, and 5 magical artifacts flew out. All 5 artifacts were quasi-4th grade. They were failed attempts by a 4th grade artifact refining master to deliberately create 4th grade artifacts. By intentionally failing, they remained below the 4th grade, allowing them to be brought into the Void Refinement Grotto, Heaven's secret realm for the little five elements. King's use. Truly worthy of the extravagantly wealthy 5 Elements Gate. The 5 quasi-4th grade artifacts were the Platinum Twin Rings, the Fire Spirit Long Spear, the Dark Water Spirit Shield, the Azure Wood Spirit Vine, and the Yellow Earth Spirit Staff. They were imitations of the life-bound magical treasures of the 5 current late nascent soul, grand cultivators of the 5 Elements Gate. The 500-meter giants were all at the false nascent realm. They stood towering, holding their artifacts like wrathful Vajra guardians. Their terrifying pressure spread outward, in no way inferior to a true nascent soul true lord. Earth Spirit, Sun, was wounded by Ye Xuan's sword, bleeding from his injuries, but his expression was radiant as he laughed wildly. The young prince has indeed cultivated the 5 elements' true nascent art. My young prince is invincible beneath the nascent soul realm. Earth Spirit Sun declared loudly, all of you will die, all of you must die. Kill 5 elements, gate disciples hold the line. On the 5 elements gate side, morale surged greatly. Wang Fugui, Ye Xuan, Jiang Xuanshu, Jiang Tianxi, Guan Yang, the Yu sisters, and all the other prodigies revealed expressions of shock, finding it hard to believe. The 5 Elements Gate actually possesses such a supreme technique, using a secret art at the peak of Golden Core, merging nascent soul essence blood into one's own bloodline, now burning that essence blood to summon 5 false nascent realm cultivators. Fortunately, fellow Taoist King Yuan extinguished the little 5 elements king's divine soul in advance. Otherwise, under the state of unified divine soul, the 5 elements' true nascent art would be even more powerful. Even so, fellow Taoist Qing Yuan's chances of victory are slim. And those 5 quasi-4th grade artifacts were specially forged for the 5 false nascent giants. It seems the little 5 elements king has been planning this for a long time. At this moment, aside from a true nascent soul true lord who can rival the little 5 elements king, Yu Xiao clenched her fists, worry in her voice. Sister, do you think Brother Li can hold out? Yu Zhao let out a faint sigh. She said nothing, but that silence said everything. Brat, you destroyed my century-old divine soul avatar in one blow. Today I will make you perish body and soul to ease the hatred in my heart. It is your honor to die by the 5 elements' true nascent art, the little 5 elements. King had already burst out of his clothes, revealing his muscular physique and fierce, murderous aura. He leaped into the air and landed atop the platinum giant's head, sitting cross-legged. He bent the index and middle fingers of his right hand together and commanded, "Kill." 3 booming sounds echoed. The sea of clouds churned as the 5 false nascent giants struck simultaneously. The 5 quasi-4th grade artifacts were unleashed. They were 5 bodies acting as one, all controlled effortlessly by the little 5 elements king's will. The 5 joined forces. unleashing power that would force even an early nascent soul cultivator to avoid their sharp edge. Li Qingyuan's expression shifted in shock. He cursed. "Damn it, is this still a golden core cultivator?" In the Xuanpin space, Zhao Guangzheng said in astonishment. A seedling like this would be a top-tier talent even among the first-rate sects of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The human king, the 5 elements king, the little 5 elements king, and our master here. This tiny 9 provinces continent, this abandoned divine domain, overflows with magnificent fortune and prodigies of the immortal path. What a pity that this heaven and earth have already fallen silent. Almost simultaneously, the undying bird within Li Xianhuang let out a faint sigh. What a pity that this heaven and earth have already fallen silent. Otherwise, both this little 5 elements king and Li Qingyuan would have limitless potential. Strange. Li Qingyuan, that name sounds familiar. Li Xianhuang's eyes were closed, her sea of consciousness clear and bright. She quietly guarded her spiritual platform, fully absorbing the inheritance within the formation imprint, her mind focused, unable to perceive the outside world. 5 elements. Talisman formation, go! Li Qingyuan activated the 5 elements talisman formation. 5 sets of talisman formations flew out instantly, driven by nascent soul, divine sense to strike precisely at the 5 giants, hitting their artifacts. The talisman formations unleashed power comparable to a single strike from an early nascent soul cultivator. They sent the 5 quasi-4th-grade artifacts flying backward, and the residual waves struck the 5 false nascent giants. The 5 false nascent giants struck simultaneously, each using their own supreme techniques to block the talisman formation's residual waves. Yet they were defeated by the formation, staggering backward or falling to the ground. Li Qingyuan activated the talisman formation again, sneering coldly. "No matter how high your techniques, I stand unmoved. Damnable little thief." The little 5 elements king spat a curse, then formed hand seals with both hands. The 5 false nascent giants returned to formation, and a series of water element talisman formations flew out, colliding with the 5 elements talisman formation. 1,000 spans up in the sky, Li Qingyuan moved alone, shifting and dodging as he fought the 500-meter giants. Techniques, artifacts, magical power, body cultivation, talisman paper, talisman formations, every kind of killing move was unleashed in succession. The little 5 elements king sat cross-legged atop the 5 giants, using his nascent soul divine sense to control them as they struck out. Artifacts, spells, talisman formations, talisman paper, all were deployed. Carrying mountains and chasing the moon, the 5 giants flew through the sky to hunt down Li Qingyuan, causing the void to explode with booming sounds. The 5 false nascent giants working together were enough to rival a nascent soul cultivator, with the little 5 elements king directing them from the center, unleashing various talisman paper-killing formations. Even Li Qingyuan with his 5 elements talisman formation was somewhat suppressed. However, Li Qingyuan held firm after all. After several dozen exchanges, the little 5 elements king let out a muffled grunt. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. He immediately consumed 10,000-year spiritual milk and 3rd-grade top-grade pills to replenish his magical power and restore his divine sense. Li Qingyuan laughed lightly. "Such a domineering technique must place a tremendous burden on your physical body, I imagine. Given your physical strength and cultivation realm, how much longer can you maintain this?" The little 5 elements king's gaze was icy. "Long enough to kill you. 5 elements, mountain, go!" Boom! The 5 elements mountain was summoned. The 5 false nascent giants simultaneously injected their magical power into it. The power of the 5 elements mountain imitation erupted fully, unleashing might no weaker than a nascent soul magical treasure. The 100-span 5 elements mountain descended, crushing downward. Li Qingyuan swung his great halberd. The power of his body and qi dual cultivation exploded forth. The halberd drew upon his magical power and blood energy, weaving them into 9 demon cauldrons. The 9 cauldrons merged into one, shaking the mountain. The 9 fiend demon cauldron technique, 9 cauldrons as one, struck the 5 elements mountain. With a thunderous crash, the mountain and the giant cauldron collided. 2 surging forces intertwined, grinding each other down, causing the sky to darken and the earth to peel away layer by layer. The ground cracked, and magma seeped up through the fissures. Boom! The demon cauldrons split apart and dispersed. The 5 elements. Mountain descended from the sky, pressing down on Li Qingyuan. Li Qingyuan raised his great halberd with both hands, piercing the sky. With a sharp clang, the halberd tip held the 100-span mountain at bay. His wind thunder invincible body activated, and magical power poured into the halberd. Heh, the little 5 elements. King let out a contemptuous laugh. A mantis trying to stop a chariot, overestimating yourself. Boom! As the little 5 elements king exerted force again, the 5 elements mountain descended further, sending Li Qingyuan flying backward 1,000 spans. He crashed into a cliff, blasting the rocky wall apart. The platinum giant possessed the strongest magical power, originating from the essence blood of the late nascent soul, grand cultivator Jin Yuanzi. It recalled the 5 elements mountain with one hand, its gaze like a wrathful Vajra, like a god. The little 5 elements. King stared at the collapsed mountain, his eyes narrowing slightly. A boom resounded. From the pile of rubble, a streak of light burst through the stones, shooting into the sky and charging toward the little 5 elements king. 3 whooshing sounds rang out. The 5 sets of 5 elements. Talisman paper struck again. 5 beams of 5 elements. Talisman light erupted, their power earth-shattering. The little 5 elements. King's expression changed. He was angry, even furious. Is there no end to this? A wandering cultivator from Huang province, where did you get so many high-grade talisman formations? Chapter 414. Talisman Formation Wholesaler. The little 5 elements. King panics. The little 5 elements. King himself was already extravagantly wealthy, but even his water element talisman formations had been exhausted. Yet Li Qingyuan, a nobody from the 7 kingdoms of Huang province, actually had more high-grade talisman formations than he and Water Spirit Sun combined. His frustration was beyond words. Li Qingyuan flew out of the rubble, unleashing 5 sets of formations. He snorted coldly. I have plenty of high-grade talisman formations. I can afford to wear you down. He transmitted a message, quickly. Blood Shadow, keep drawing talismans. In the Xuanpin space, Blood Shadow held the peach blossom brush. He spread out sheets of 3rd-grade top-tier materials and began drawing 5 elements. Talisman paper, working non-stop, not daring to slack off. Blood Shadow consumed spirit, nourishing pills and 10,000 true pills to maintain his divine sense and magical power. Sheets of 3rd-grade top-tier talisman paper were produced in succession. The little 5 elements king said coldly, fine. Let's see who outlasts whom. When it comes to pills, foundation and talisman paper, I, the young prince, as the heir of the 5 elements gate, am unmatched among golden core cultivators. With that, the little 5 elements king consumed 10,000-year spiritual milk, 3rd-grade top-tier spirit origin pills, and some auxiliary pills to strengthen his body and specifically reduce the burden the 5 elements true nascent art placed on his physique. The little 5 elements. King formed hand seals. The 5 false nascent giants drove the 5 elements mountain forward again to suppress the attack, blocking the 5 elements talisman formation's assault. Space rippled. Spiritual light overflowed in all directions. The false nascent giant's form swayed and the 5 elements mountain teetered. The little 5 elements king poured out all his strength, barely managing to hold off the 5 sets of formations. Then he drove the 5 4th-grade artifacts forward again, using them to tie up Li Qingyuan. Every single strike from any of the 5 false nascent cultivators required Li Qingyuan to unleash his full power, swinging his great halberd with all his might just to barely block one blow. So he needed the talisman formations to assist him. One set after another flew out, knocking back the 5 quasi-4th-grade artifacts as he fought the false nascent giants in midair. Let the attrition begin. Let's see who had the thicker health bar. Wang Fugi sat cross-legged, consuming pills one after another to heal his injuries. He cursed, that bastard Wang Shikai, he's been pretending too well all these years. Not only was that dagger incredibly sharp, reaching quasi-4th grade, but it was also coated with deadly poison. Damn his mother. Wang Fugi had no choice but to suppress the poison, treat his injuries, and even take out the precious medicine he had obtained with great difficulty, spirit crystal sunflower. He cut off about 1/10 of it and consumed it for refinement. The precious medicine, spirit crystal sunflower, could cultivate bloodlines, purify bloodlines, and also had the effects of expelling all poisons, cleansing spiritual power, and washing the marrow. For Wang Fugi, it was more suitable than any other precious medicine. Once I recover from my injuries, Wang Fugi looked at the little Five Elements King, killing intent rising in his eyes. Guard me. After Wang Fugi gave the order, the Wang family disciples and Tongbao Pavilion disciples flew over. They had captured Wang Shukui alive, bound him and thrown him to the ground, guarding Wang Fugi as he recovered. Damn it! The little Five Elements. King's eyes flickered with anxiety. Once Wang Fugi recovers his magical power and activates his wealth god bloodline, joining forces with Li Qingyuan, even if I use the Five Elements' true nascent art, it will be useless. Just then, true nature returned, dragging the half-dead gold spirit sun. The peak golden core prodigy, second only to the little Five Elements King, was firmly in true nature's grasp. Little Five Elements. King, your dog has been caught. As his master, do you want to save him? True nature slowly applied pressure, crushing Gold Spirit Sun's skull. The latter screamed, his head drenched in blood. Young prince, save me, Gold Spirit Sun begged pitifully. The little Five Elements. King's expression turned cold and harsh. He cursed inwardly, worthless, all of them worthless. It seemed Fire Spirit Sun, Wood Spirit Sun, and Water Spirit Sun had already met their doom. Of his 5 subordinates, only Earth Spirit Sun remained, and he was being brutally beaten by Ye Xuan, suffering severe injuries. He would probably die soon too. Gold Spirit Sun's golden core was shattered. His lower body was a bloody mess, and blood flowed from his 7 orifices. He was a cripple. True nature grinned. Gold Spirit Sun, it seems that you're not even worth a dog in your young prince's eyes. Since you have no value left, then die. True nature suddenly exerted force, directly crushing Gold Spirit Sun's skull and exploding his divine sense. A surge of powerful magical energy shattered Gold Spirit Sun's physical body. The second prodigy of the Five Elements Gate, second only to the little Five Elements King, Gold Spirit Sun, perished, body and soul extinguished. Hatred and killing intent continued to rise in the little Five Elements. King's eyes, it infuriates me. The Five Elements Gate's excellent situation has become so passive, all because of Li Qingyuan alone. If he did not kill Li Qingyuan, his thoughts would be troubled, and it might become a heart demon. If not for Li Qingyuan, his Five Elements Gate would surely have obtained the sword inheritance and talisman inheritance. If not for Li Qingyuan, Wood Spirit Sun, Water Spirit Sun, Fire Spirit Sun, and Gold Spirit Sun would not have died one after another. The 5 spirit prodigies working together could execute a combined attack technique. Even if he used his unified divine soul state, they would only fight to a draw. That was one of his 3 great killing moves for this expedition. Unified divine soul, the 5 spirit prodigies' combined attack, and the 5 elements' true nascent art. If he could deploy all 3 killing moves simultaneously, the 5 Elements Gate could easily sweep through all the prodigies in the Void Refinement Grotto. Heaven, and effortlessly, seized the final victory. But because of Li Qingyuan, the little Five Elements Kings, nearly a century of bitter cultivation of unified divine soul had been directly shattered, and the 5 spirit prodigies' combined attack secret technique had been stillborn. Without the unified divine soul state, using the 5 Elements' true nascent art, not only consumed more magical power and placed a heavier burden on his body, but its power was also slightly weaker by 3 parts. The more the little Five Elements King thought about it, the angrier he became. Rage burned within him as he summoned the divine soul. Bell, kill. The 5 Elements, Mountain and the divine soul Bell, 2 great treasures descended, their offensive power unmatched. He even plucked a 4th grade top-tier spiritual plant, a 5 Elements fruit, and consumed it on the spot. The magical power within him surged like rolling waves. He split the power into 5 parts and injected them into the 5 false nascent giants' bodies, the little 5 Elements. King's face was flushed red. Sweat poured down like rain, and blood seeped from his pores. He roared, "If I don't kill you today, the hatred in my heart will never be appeased." 3 booming sounds rang out, the little 5 elements. King had gone berserk. He had forcibly consumed the 5 elements' fruit, disregarding the consequences of damaging his foundation, just to kill Li Qingyuan. The 5 false nascent giants' magical power surged by a large margin. Each one could now wield an artifact to contend with the 5 elements talisman formation. Then, the little 5 elements king used his divine sense to control objects from a distance, driving the 5 elements mountain and the divine soul bell down. Li Qingyuan's small figure spun, shifted, dodged, and moved among the 5 giants, all while swinging his great halberd to resist the divine soul bell and the 5 elements mountain. He was beaten until he coughed blood, his long hair whipping wildly in the wind. If not for the 5 elements talisman formation protecting him, repeatedly blocking the 5 giants' killing blows, he would already be dead. The berserk, little 5 elements. King truly could kill a declining early nascent soul cultivator. He had almost no weaknesses. In every aspect, he was the #1 golden core cultivator in the 9 provinces. Li Qingyuan thought to himself, Wang Fugui is healing his injuries. As long as I hold out until he recovers, the little 5 elements king will surely lose. I can see that, and so can the little 5 elements king. That's why he's panicking. A clang echoed. The divine soul bell descended, sending Li Qingyuan flying 100 spans. He held his great halberd with both hands to block the killing blow. The halberd hummed and trembled, numbing his entire body. So strong. This is a tough fight. Even with the 5 elements talisman formation, I'm being suppressed. The 5 elements talisman paper was ultimately only comparable to an ordinary early nascent soul cultivator, not reaching the level of nascent soul attacks like Miaolei's. Suddenly, the sky changed color. The formation imprint had finally completed its infusion, entering Li Shanhuang's sea of consciousness entirely, and she claimed it. As the formation imprint's inheritance was completed, deep within the secret realm, atop a 10,000 Jiang immortal mountain, the stone shell of an eye-shaped object cracked open, revealing an eye. The eye was a foot long. It slowly opened, a giant eye, lifelike and vivid, as if it were watching everyone. The eye was vertical. Its pupil rolled around, emitting the power of an ancient treasure. Traces of heavenly might stirred the heavens and earth. An eye. A living eye. What the hell is that thing? The eyeball emitted a sky-piercing radiance so dazzling that no one could look directly at it. Everyone closed their eyes. Whoosh! The eyeball flew through the sky, arriving beside Li Shanhuang. It sensed a familiar aura within her, the aura of formation principles, the aura of an old acquaintance. Li Shanhuang opened her palm. The eye slowly descended, landing in her hand, then gently closed. A mere golden core cultivator. And you think you're worthy of the immortal estate's inheritance? The little 5 elements. King saw this and sent one of his giants to seize the treasure. The crimson fire giant flew through the sky, attacking. Boom! The crimson fire giant's hand blotted out the sky. That hand reached through the air, grasping for Li Shanhuang. Master? Li Shanhuang's beautiful face showed urgency. The undying bird said helplessly, who would have thought that even in this abandoned divine domain there are immortal path prodigies? Outside, 2 cultivators have cultivated divine soul power, and one of them is almost at divine transformation. They are tearing through space, rushing here. If I reveal my presence and take you away, you will have to wander the 9 provinces continent, never daring to show yourself before others. Otherwise, they will hunt me down and refine me into a treasure artifact spirit. Within Li Shanhuang's body, wisps of flame began to burn. A divine soul power that did not belong to her was about to awaken. Little 5 elements. King, your opponent is me. A figure in a blue robe used the technique of shifting stars and exchanging constellations, teleporting through the sky. He appeared before Li Shanhuang, activating the power of wind and thunder. His great halberd tore through the sky, exploding the crimson fire giant's hand. The great halberd returned like a streak of light. Li Qingyuan stood holding it. Cluck! Cluck! Ji Kun crowed. His 7-colored light feathers tore through the sky. His chicken claws clutched 2 demon cores, a flood dragon's and a white tiger's. He stood beside the blue-robed figure, proud and spirited. Li Shanhuang's beautiful eyes froze for a moment. A blue robe. an inexplicable sense of safety. A seven-colored rooster. In the Sea Archipelago, only one person had such a spirit beast. A surge of familial affection washed over Li Xianhuang. She looked at Li Qingyuan's unfamiliar yet familiar profile. A wave of emotion surged from the depths of her heart. She whispered softly, "Father." Chapter 415. Li Qingyuan, Xianer, step behind your father. That single word, father, was soft and faint, like a whisper carried on a gentle breeze, yet it made Li Qingyuan's entire body tremble, and an endless tide of guilt surged from the depths of his heart. He drew a deep breath. His gaze was calm, his expression as calm as still water. He gripped a great halberd, and his eyes swept across the little Five Elements King, then across the surrounding onlookers who watched with predatory intent from every direction. Many had set their sights on his daughter. Xianer was only at the foundation establishment stage, yet she had managed to appear here, to reach the deepest part of the immortal estate, to receive the seal imprint of an ancient great power's formation, and to earn the recognition of a divine eye. At this moment, she was like a child carrying gold through a bustling market. Any core formation cultivator could easily seize this heaven-defying opportunity. How could they not be tempted? Even the Yu sisters of the Azure Cloud sect, who had maintained a relatively friendly relationship with them, now seemed to stand on the opposite side. His daughter's safety, he had to control it himself. Li Qingyuan sent a voice transmission, "Xianer, come stand behind me." Li Xianhuang was startled for only a moment before she flew several dozen zhang through the air and landed behind Li Qingyuan. Li Qingyuan produced his core formation magic treasure, the wood spirit vine. One end wrapped around his own waist, the other around his daughter's. He transmitted again, "Hold tight to the vine. Your father will take you and break through their encirclement." Li Xianhuang nodded softly. In the 20 or 30 years she had spent cultivating, today she finally felt a sense of safety from her father. Though it was the first time, it didn't feel unfamiliar, because blood is thicker than water. The father she had heard about since childhood, the father she had imagined since childhood, now perfectly overlapped with the man before her, the little Five Elements. King's sinister gaze sharpened as he fixed his eyes on Li Qingyuan. "It seems you two know each other, fellow Taoists. These two have obtained an ancient mysterious stone tablet, ancient precious blood, an ancient formation inheritance, an ancient divine eye, various high-grade spirit herbs, an endless supply of magical tools and pills, as well as high-level talisman formation methods. The little Five Elements," King continued. "Why don't we join forces to kill these two, then divide the spoils afterward? What do you say?" From the Heavenly Sword Gate, the Heavenly Saber Gate, the Taiyi Gate, and various other onlooking factions, more than 20 prodigies from different provinces stepped forward. The little Five Elements. King speaks sense. In a flash, they positioned themselves above and below, in every direction, blocking the path of Li Qingyuan and his daughter. These two carry heavy treasures. We cannot let them escape. Kill. Li Xianhuang gripped the wood spirit vine tightly and thought to herself, "Master, if my father cannot prevail, take us both away from here." The undying bird responded, "Very well." At that moment, Li Qingyuan transmitted, "Xianer, hold tight." A booming sound echoed. Within Li Qingyuan's body, the physical golden core at his Tanzhong acupoint erupted with the power of wind and thunder, while the golden core of magical power in his dantian erupted with the power of Yang Wood's longevity. The powers of his two cores merged, with wood as the dominant element, acting as the central harmonizer. The wind-thunder power, which also belonged to the wood attribute, was tempered by the Yang Wood force. The three powers fused together. His golden core of magical power and his physical golden core resonated deeply, their strength becoming one. Wind-thunder, invincible body, wind-thunder, twin wings. Li Qingyuan let out a low shout in his heart. The power of wind and thunder erupted. The wind god pattern and the thunder god pattern manifested. His surging Yang Wood magical power poured into them, and the power of the divine patterns materialized, forming a pair of wings on his back. The wind-thunder invincible body was a divine transformation level, divine technique. Once it reached full mastery, it would grant a divine transformation level physical body. As a top-tier body refinement technique, it naturally came with matching movement techniques and spells. The Wind Thunder Twin Wings were the movement technique inherent to the Wind Thunder Invincible body itself. Having the Wind Thunder Invincible body reach the late core formation stage was the basic prerequisite for unleashing the Wind Thunder Twin Wings. A booming sound echoed. A whoosh sounded, and it happened in an instant. Li Qingyuan recalled Ji Kun with one hand, then instantly shot away with his daughter. Behind him, the Wind Thunder Twin Wings beat powerfully as he soared through the air, riding the power of wind and thunder as he sped away like the wind. Even the little Five Elements King was startled. Such a fast movement technique. Hurry, stop him! Li Qingyuan avoided the little Five Elements King and charged directly at a late core formation prodigy from the Heavenly Saber Gate. The Heavenly Saber Gate prodigy was greatly alarmed. Li Qingyuan was rushing straight at him with the speed of lightning and the momentum of thunder, carrying the power of heaven and earth. He immediately offered up his life-bound magic treasure. His long saber swept down in a slash, but his saber had only cut halfway down when Li Qingyuan punched the blade aside with one fist. The second fist struck him square in the chest. His body flew backward like a cannonball for 1,000 jang before plummeting down a cliff. A whoosh was heard. A blur of wind and thunder flashed past. Li Qingyuan vanished beyond the horizon. His movement technique surpassed the peak of core formation, directly comparable to that of an early nascent soul cultivator. The Five Elements Heaven Escape Technique. The Little Five Elements. King recalled his 5 giants. The giants shrank and fell into his palm. He clenched his fist, then flew off in full pursuit. His movement technique originated from the Five Elements King, who was second in the world. When he flew at full power, he was in no way inferior to Li Qingyuan. After them, the prodigies from every faction chased madly. Yu Xiao said, "Sister, let's go too." With that, Yu Xiao flew away. Yu Xiao could only sigh helplessly. This foolish little sister of mine, doesn't she understand yet? This matter is no longer something we can interfere with. With a faint sigh, Yu Zhao chased after them. A series of whooshing sounds echoed. They all raced forward, chasing and being chased. Soon, only Wang Fugui's faction remained, sitting cross-legged to heal their wounds. They numbered just 11 people in total. The great upheaval in the Void Refinement Grotto. Heaven had also been sensed by the early core formation prodigies from outside factions. They had gathered once more at the Myriad Medicine Divine Mountain. At this moment, the overbearing disciples of the Five Elements Gate had all left. These early core formation cultivators from minor factions, those who had been unable to enter the Five Fiends' secret realm, could once again challenge the talisman puppets here to obtain third-grade spirit plants. But they were dumbfounded. The 3 precious medicines had vanished. Not a single third-grade spirit plant remained. Someone had beaten them to it. After making inquiries, they learned that these spirit plants and precious medicines had likely fallen into the hands of cultivators from Huang Province. The fact that the Huang Province cultivators had hunted down Five Elements Gate disciples could not be concealed. After various speculations, everyone agreed that Li Qingyuan, the captain of the Huang Province prodigies, was most likely the biggest winner. Various factions now faced off against the Huang Province prodigies, Zhao Chong, Zhao Tongshuan, Zhao Dai, and the forces under the loose cultivator, Yu Xiao, all demanding to know the whereabouts of the precious medicines. A loud boom echoed. In the distant sky, thunder rolled and a fierce wind howled. Within the wind and thunder, a human figure shot past. On his back grew a pair of wings, wind on the left, thunder on the right. With Yang Wood magical power as the harmonizing force, wind and thunder were balanced as he raced across the world. With a rushing sound, Li Qingyuan swept past with his daughter, flying over the Myriad Medicine Divine Mountain. As he crossed the sky, he exchanged glances with the cultivators below. "Stop right there!" A furious roar followed him. The Little Five Elements. King flew through the sky, his peak core formation aura exploding outward. He activated his Five Elements technique as he tore through the air. The two raced across the sky. Their pressure howled. Friction ignited the air, leaving trails of sparks. Their auras soared to their peak, as if 2 nascent soul true lords were passing by. The early core formation prodigies trembled, uncertain and alarmed. Was that a nascent soul true lord who just flew by? Such a fast movement technique. I've only ever seen that kind of speed and pressure from my sect's nascent soul elders. It's the Huang province prodigy, Li Qingyuan, and the Little Five Elements King of the Five Elements Gate. The Little Five Elements King is hunting Li Qingyuan. Could there be some deep, irreconcilable hatred between them? Perhaps it's for the precious medicines and the secret realm inheritance. A short while later, the prodigies from the Five Fiends' secret realm flew out, including Zhao Ju, Yu Shao'er, and Tan Yu Yi, having regained their freedom after the Five Fiends' secret realm gathered together and transformed into a lotus lamp. The prodigies flew out and asked, "Where are Li Qingyuan and the Little Five Elements King?" Someone pointed. They went in that direction. After them. Every faction gave chase. A day later, within the Void Refinement Grotto, heaven, all the core formation prodigies had gathered. Of the more than 4,000 prodigies, a small number had been secretly captured and several hundred had been teleported out after igniting their jade tokens. Later, the Little Five Elements King entered the Five Fiends' secret realm, killing everyone in his path. He slew nearly 1,000 people and captured more than 200 hunting targets. Li Qingyuan had also killed nearly 1,000 Five Elements Gate disciples, nearly wiping out the Five Spirit prodigies. Earth Spirit had been killed by Ye Xuan while leading his clan's disciples. The Five Elements Gate had lost several more late core formation cultivators. During the struggle for the top-grade spirit stones, the soul-suppressing stones, and the ancient precious blood, Li Qingyuan had provoked slaughter, resulting in the deaths of about 200 of the elite among the elite. In summary, of the more than 4,000 core formation prodigies, barely 1,000 remained in the Void Refinement Grotto. Heaven, at this moment. Of that 1,000, several hundred were chasing Li Qingyuan, following the trail of Li Qingyuan and the Little Five Elements King. Unfortunately, their movement techniques were too weak. A day later, they had lost all trace of the two. At this moment, Li Qingyuan arrived above an underground magma flow. It was the cave that the flame dragon lizard had excavated about 2 years ago. Magma continuously rose. The Earth's vein fire erupted through the crust, and the high temperature permeated the air. Ha! Li Qingyuan stopped. He swallowed a handful of third-grade pills and drank some 10,000-year spirit milk, quickly restoring his magical power and divine sense. He untied the wood spirit vine and said, "Shenne, step back." Li Qingyuan summoned Jikun, Blood Shadow, and the flame dragon lizard. "Take care of Shenne." Jikun thumped his chest. "Don't worry, boss, I've got my niece covered." Li Xianhuang, Jikun, Blood Shadow, and the flame dragon lizard shielded Li Xianhuang as they retreated 1,000 jang to a safe position, standing on a mountain peak to watch. Boom! The Little Five Elements King flew over. Seeing Li Qingyuan taking medicine and adjusting his breathing, he also swallowed a handful of pills. His eyes were icy. "What's this? You realize you can't escape, so you've accepted your fate." Li Qingyuan took a deep breath, adjusting his breathing rhythm. "Wrong. It's that I no longer need to flee. With only you here, I can kill you with ease." The Little Five Elements King was enraged, arrogant. He waved his right hand. The Five Elements' true nascent technique activated once more. The energy of the Five Elements. Fruit within his body erupted again. The small figure in his palm flew out, transforming into a 100-meter false nascent soul giant. The 5 Vajra Dharma manifestations charged forward. Li Qingyuan formed hand seals with both hands. He swallowed 3 drops of 10,000-year spirit milk in one gulp. His 4th-grade halberd floated in the air. The Earth's vein fire converged. The primordial wind energy was summoned. Strands of starlight from the sky were drawn into his body. He formed seal after seal with his hands, each one profound and mysterious, and shouted, "5 Qi, return to origin technique. 5 Qi, return." Chapter 416, 5 Qi. Return to origin technique, smashing the Little Five Elements King. 5 Qi, return. Li Qingyuan floated in the air, absorbing the power of the 5 Qi. The 5 types of Qi surged madly into his body, causing his magical power to climb continuously. He wildly absorbed all 5 types of energy: the power of the stars in the sky, the Qi of the Earth's flame, the metal Qi of the halberd, the living water from the 10,000-year spirit milk, and the wind energy within a 1,000 jang. His cultivation base soared. Late core formation, peak core formation, false nascent soul stage. A boom sounded. Ha! Li Qingyuan's body erupted with violent energy. He transformed the 5 types of energy for his own use. His immense magical power tore through his blue robe. His long hair danced wildly. His muscular body shimmered with a 5-colored radiance, entwined with the power of wind and thunder. All of this, though it takes long to describe, happened in the span of just 2 breaths. The little 5 elements. King's right eyelid twitched violently. What kind of devious secret technique is this? It can directly absorb the power of heaven and earth, even more overbearing than my 5 elements' true nascent technique. I cannot let him complete his power gathering. The 5 false nascent soul giants flew through the air, offering up their magic treasures: twin rings, a fire spear, a water shield, a wooden vine, and an earth staff. 5 quasi-4th-grade magical instruments descended together, striking with such force that heaven and earth seemed to explode, as if a nascent soul true lord were attacking. Li Qingyuan erupted with nascent soul-level divine sense. 5 sets of 5 elements, talisman formations shot out, each targeting one of the giants. A series of bangs echoed. The 5 quasi-4th-grade magical instruments were sent flying backward. The residual power of the talisman formations struck the 5 false nascent soul giants, causing their spells to scatter the little 5 elements. King felt deeply frustrated. He had always been the one to surpass his enemies in magic treasures, magical instruments, pill resources, and talisman combat power. But facing Li Qingyuan, he found himself at a disadvantage in every aspect. This was especially true with the 5 elements talisman formations that Li Qingyuan possessed. He had already used more than 200 sets, yet he still had more, as if he had an endless supply. The little 5 elements. King swallowed another 5 elements fruit. Terrifying power erupted from his body. He said in a harsh voice, "My 5 elements king lineage, the 1st generation. 5 elements." King was the 5th son of the founding emperor. He received guidance from the founding emperor at the divine transformation stage, comprehended the Tao beneath the 5 elements fruit tree, and realized the 5 elements technique. The 5 elements fruit is the greatest nourishment for my 5 elements technique. With this item in hand, plus my 5 elements true nascent technique, I will surely kill you today. The 5 false nascent soul giants' murderous might surged once more. Their magical power was even greater. They withstood the 5 elements talisman formations and charged straight at Li Qingyuan. Li Qingyuan felt the surging power within his body. He took a deep breath and said, "Little 5 elements, king, today I'll show you who is the true king of the core formation stage." Boom! Li Qingyuan stepped through the air and charged. The power of the 5 qi within his body surged and circulated. Though he had not formed a nascent soul, he now possessed magical power almost comparable to a nascent soul true lord. He grasped his nascent soul ancient treasure, the mountain settling staff, with both hands. 10,000 jun of force swung out. With a clang, the water shield flew backward. 3 sharp clangs rang out. Li Qingyuan swung the nascent soul ancient treasure, mountain settling staff. Every strike carried the might to split mountains and shatter the earth. He easily sent the 5 quasi-4th-grade magical instruments flying, then charged at the little 5 elements king. Both arms raised the 1,000-jun staff. Wind, thunder, and 5 qi split the sky. He brought it down in a crushing blow. The 10-jang giant staff could settle mountains and rivers. "Block it! Block it! The little 5 elements!" King's expression changed drastically. He retreated frantically. The white gold giant raised its twin rings, both arms reaching for the sky to withstand this violent strike. A clang rang out. The mountain settling staff came down, sending the white gold twin rings flying. The rings shot backward 1,000 zhang and slammed into the earth. Li Qingyuan, holding the staff with both hands, brought it down with violent force, the heaven-shaking, earth-shattering might of the mountain. Settling staff struck the white gold giant's arms, shattering them, shattering its head, shattering half its body. A loud bang echoed as the white gold giant was completely destroyed. The violent residual shockwave raged, sending the little 5 elements king flying backward 100 jang. His chest heaved as he was consumed by fury and indignation. He formed hand seals with both hands. The remaining 4 false nascent cultivators offered up their magic treasures and attacked. He also offered up the 5 elements, mountain and the divine soul bell, joining forces to attack Li Qingyuan. Having taken the 5 elements fruit twice in succession, his physical body was already nearing its limit. Threads of blood seeped from his pores. His handsome face, twisted by rage and killing intent, was utterly ferocious. Divine Soul Bell, heaven and earth, resound. Li Qingyuan had just swept aside the magical instruments of the 4 false nascent soul giants when he saw the little 5 elements king unleash his killing move. The divine soul bell instantly split into 27 bells, suspended in the air. The bell tones vibrated, and heaven and earth resounded together. The piercing sound waves attacked the spirit, triggering spiritual energy tides that twisted space itself, attacking the physical body. At the same time, the 4 false nascent soul giants once again drove their magical instruments forward, surrounding Li Qingyuan. Li Qingyuan did the same as before. The 5 elements talisman formations flew out, once again repelling the 4 false nascent soul giants. His final set of talisman formations attacked the divine soul bell, consuming its power. No matter how many wondrous techniques you have, I will break them all with pure force. Shatter! Li Qingyuan once again erupted with the power of wind and thunder. He poured the 5 qi magical power into the mountain settling staff. Using the giant sword technique, the mountain settling staff grew enormous and heavy. 100-meter giant staff struck toward the sky. Clang! A resonant dong rang out as the mountain settling staff struck the divine soul bell. The bell's tone was explosive and piercing. Heaven and earth rippled with sound waves. The 27 ancient bells exploded one after another. The divine soul bell was knocked back into its original form, crashing into the little 5 elements king. The little 5 elements king immediately offered up the 5 elements mountain to protect his body. The 5 elements mountain and the divine soul bell collided with a booming sound. The little 5 elements king flew backward a great distance. A sweet taste filled his throat and he coughed up a mouthful of blood. Kill! Li Qingyuan charged at the 3 remaining false nascent soul giants. 5 sets of talismans flew out. Seizing the opportunity, he focused his attack on one. The yellow earth giant was struck by 5 consecutive sets of talismans and exploded instantly. The yellow earth spirit staff fell into Li Qingyuan's hands. The little 5 elements king's expression changed drastically. He immediately formed hand seals to gather the remaining 3 false nascent soul giants to guard him from 3 directions. He stood within the 3 giants, his face dark and heavy. The 2 faced off across the distance, their auras clashing. Li Shanhuang watched, utterly stunned. "This is my father? An ordinary 3-spirit root cultivator?" Jikun said. "Niece, our boss, your father, isn't just a 3-spirit root cultivator. He has the Yang Wood spirit body, the first among the 12 spirit bodies of the innate spirit bodies." Li Shanhuang felt a moment of enlightenment, then shock. Even the Yang Wood spirit body is only comparable to a heavenly spirit root. And how many heavenly spirit root core formation cultivators have this kind of ability? Jikun agreed. "That's why he's my boss." Within Li Shanhuang's body, the undying bird perceived. This chicken is no ordinary chicken. It is the ancient fierce bird, the heaven-swallowing chicken. The ancestors of the heaven-swallowing chicken could stand shoulder to shoulder with my clan's ancestors and the true dragon ancestors. The 3 great ancient fierce birds, the 3-legged golden crow, the golden-winged roc, and the heaven-swallowing chicken, each had their own strengths. In the immortal ancient era, they were all renowned great fierce creatures. Li Shanhuang's shock was beyond words. "My father's spirit pet is a heaven-swallowing chicken?" the undying bird said. "We don't need to flee anymore, Xianer. Even among the core formation immortal seedlings of the great sects in the 9 heavens and 10 earths, your father's aptitude and combat power are among the most outstanding. Xg. This little 5 elements king is indeed excellent, but compared to your father, there is still quite a gap. S. The little 5 elements king said darkly. "Fellow Taoist Qingyuan, when it comes down to it, there was no enmity between us from the start. Why must we fight to the death? Let someone like Wang Fugi reap the benefits." Li Qingyuan nodded. "True, from the beginning there was indeed no enmity between us. But now that things have come to this, do you think the conflict between us can still be reconciled?" The little 5 elements king said, "Of course it can. If you retreat now, I, this young master, can overlook the deaths of the Five Elements Gate disciples. I will no longer pursue the many precious medicines, spirit plants, magic treasures, and magical instruments. Fighting each other benefits no one." As they spoke, the two stood with their hands behind their backs. In each of their palms, they held a top-grade spirit stone, frantically absorbing the spiritual energy from the top-grade spirit stones to replenish their magical power and restore their divine sense. The little Five Elements King had consumed a great deal. Li Qingyuan had also consumed a great deal. Earlier, when the 20 top-grade spirit stones had scattered, the little Five Elements King had seized one, then set his sights on the ancient precious blood. Li Qingyuan had fished in troubled waters, used the heart demon to invade everyone, provoked slaughter from all sides, and attacked the Five Elements Gate disciples. He had also seized a top-grade spirit stone and duplicated it into two. The two appeared to be negotiating, but, in truth, both were secretly restoring their combat power. Li Qingyuan shook his head. Now that things have come to this, precious medicines, inheritances, magic treasures, and resources are not important to me. What do you mean by that, fellow Taoist? The little Five Elements? King frowned. The next second, Li Qingyuan crushed the top-grade spirit stone. All the spiritual light flowed from his palm through his meridians and into his body. The 5-Chi return to origin technique erupted once more. The mountain settling staff shot forward. "Without you, that is very important to me." Chapter 417. Old Zhao, do you want a physical body? The mountain settling staff expanded to enormous size and crashed down with devastating force. Li Qingyuan struck again. Having absorbed a top-grade spirit stone, his magical power and divine sense had both recovered to their peak. A dense, powerful aura radiated from him, as sharp and unstoppable as when he had first activated the 5-Chi return to origin technique. The little Five Elements King trembled with rage. "Li Qingyuan, do not push me too far. In this battle between us, it is still unknown who will live and who will die." As he spoke, the little Five Elements King also crushed a top-grade spirit stone, frantically inhaling its energy into his body. He activated his nascent soul divine sense and sent the spirit soul bell and the Five Elements mountain flying forth to attack. 3 clangs echoed. Boom, boom, boom. The nascent soul ancient treasure, the mountain settling staff, streaked across the sky, colliding mid-air with the spirit soul bell and the imitation Five Elements mountain. The 3 supreme treasures clashed in aerial combat, their collisions causing the very air to explode with booming sounds and wild winds to scatter in all directions. What appeared to be a battle between treasures was, in truth, a contest of nascent soul divine sense. Both possessed nascent soul-level divine sense. Their spiritual perception realms evenly matched. Neither held an advantage. As the 3 great treasures clashed, neither side could gain the upper hand for the moment. The little Five Elements King formed a hand seal, channeling his magical power into the 3 false nascent soul giants. The 300-meter tall giants raised their magical instruments and unleashed attacks of devastating force. Li Qingyuan rubbed his hands together, activating his Jia Wood magical power in conjunction with a 3rd-tier spell, the Flame Explosion technique. It was as if he were forging a nuclear bomb with his bare hands, unleashing power far exceeding that of a 3rd-tier spell. Jia Wood's magical power was the foremost of the Yang Wood powers, forming a perfect match with the Flame Explosion technique. Combined with Li Qingyuan's current state of 5-Chi return, which gave him nearly nascent soul-level magical power, lacking only the formation of a true nascent soul, this strike was no weaker than that of an early nascent soul expert. A loud boom echoed. When the Flame Explosion technique was unleashed, a 100-meter blast erupted with searing heat. Li Qingyuan hurled it with both hands. Wherever the Flame Explosion technique passed, it evaporated spiritual energy, warped space, and left the air shimmering and hazy. Within a radius of 1,000 jang, the temperature rose sharply and violently. With a thunderous roar, the Flame Explosion technique landed. It sent the 3 quasi-4th-tier magical instruments flying backward, hurling them more than 1,000 jang away before they slammed viciously into the earth and embedded themselves into the cliffs. The explosion of the Flame Explosion technique sent the 3 false nascent soul giants staggering backward. In a flash, Li Qingyuan, still in his 5-Chi return state, executed the star-shifting constellation. Changing technique. Like a nascent soul, true lord performing a spatial teleportation, he instantly appeared before the wood giant. Wind Thunder Invincible Body. Li Qingyuan threw a punch, unleashing the power of wind and thunder. His fists blazed with light as they tore through the air, leaving a sky full of after-images. In a single breath, he delivered nearly 100 strikes. Thump, thump, thump. The sky was filled with after-images and descending fist imprints. The power of wind and thunder erupted. Riddled with holes, the wood giant's body exploded and shattered section by section, jang by jang, until it dissolved into a sea of spiritual light. The 5 elements. True nascent infant technique had lost 3 of its giants. The little 5 elements. King was furious. He raised both hands to the sky and struck out with the 5 elements transformation extreme hand. A 100-meter giant hand flew through the air, once again attacking Li Qingyuan. The earth giant and the water giant also attacked simultaneously, their enormous fists shattering wind and thunder. Li Qingyuan formed hand seals, his fingers flickering through 6 or 7 variations in rapid succession. Ice vines erupted from the ground, soaring hundreds of jang into the air to entangle and bind the 5 elements transformation. Extreme hand. At the same time, they coiled around the earth giant and the water giant, wrapping around their legs, waists, and arms, firmly locking down their movements. The scene was magnificent to behold. With the strength of a single man, Li Qingyuan activated the ice vine technique. A sky full of ice vines surged forth like an iron horse ice river, pouring into a dream, simultaneously entangling the 100-meter giant hand and the 200-meter giants. The 2 sides fell into a stalemate. They stared at each other across the void. A strange, eerie light flickered in the little 5 elements. King's eyes as he silently launched a pupil technique attack. Spirit. Snatching. Pupil technique. This was one of the secret techniques passed down through the 5 elements. King's lineage, a rare pupil technique. Once activated, it could seize another's mind and heart, pluck their soul, and cause their divine sense to sink into oblivion. Li Qingyuan's heart sank as his divine sense was attacked. A cold smile curled at the corner of his mouth. A contest of pupil techniques, is it? Their eyes met, and Li Qingyuan returned the favor with his own technique, Heart Demon Pupil Technique. The void rippled. The 2 nascent soul-level divine senses collided. Both men grunted in pain, blood trickling from the corners of their mouths. High above, the 3 great treasures each fell from the sky. Their contest of divine sense, the spiritual shock of their collision, had become a complete deadlock. A deadlock of spells, a deadlock of divine sense, a battle of attrition. The little 5 elements. King cursed inwardly. Damn it. His cultivation is clearly inferior to mine, yet he can sustain this high-intensity consumption for so long. Li Qingyuan quietly activated the Jia Wood Reaching Heaven technique. Within his body, the seed of longevity released the origins of wind, thunder, and magical power. The pure, refined magical power he had accumulated over time now flowed to him in an unending stream. Jikun transmitted a message. "Boss, do you need me to make a move?" Li Qingyuan replied, "No need. The little 5 elements king is already a spent arrow. However, when I defeat him, you will use your innate divine ability to immobilize him." The 2 remained locked in stalemate. 10 breaths, 20 breaths, 50 breaths. The little 5 elements king was drenched in sweat. A sharp pain stabbed at his brow. Blood seeped from every pore on his body. His body had reached its absolute limit, unable to sustain itself any longer. He was like a camel that a single straw could break. The little 5 elements. King spat blood toward the sky as his body slowly collapsed. The 5 elements transformation. Extreme hand shattered and dispersed. The earth giant and the water giant, the false nascent soul giants, crumbled and dissolved into a sea of spiritual light. As the little 5 elements king fell through the air, he ignited a special talisman. But as soon as it began to burn, it was struck by a divine sense assault and a sonic wave. A rooster's crow rang out, violently attacking his divine sense. Immediately afterward, a stream of 7-colored light flew forth, sealing his entire body. Space itself seemed to freeze, and even the already burning talisman paper had its flames frozen in place. Li Qingyuan then made his move. A 3rd-tier rope-type magical instrument bound the little 5 elements king. A spirit-sealing talisman sealed his spiritual power. Then he cast restriction seals to lock him down further. 3 layers of safeguards trapped the severely wounded enemy. You, the little 5 elements. King was terrified. Bam! Li Qingyuan struck with a heavy punch, landing a blow directly on the little 5 elements king's face. His nose bridge collapsed, blood gushed from his mouth, and he immediately fell unconscious. Having done all this, Li Qingyuan asked, "Old Zhao, do you want a wife?" Zhao Guangjing was at a loss for words. Slip of the tongue, slip of the tongue, Li Qingyuan corrected himself. "Old Zhao, do you want a physical body?" This little 5 elements. King, whether it's his spirit root or his essence, energy and spirit, is among the finest in the entire 9 provinces continent. As a physical body for you to seize and be reborn into your primordial spirit form, there is none better. Within the Xuanpin space, Zhao Guanzhang nodded. Master speaks sense. If this old man wishes to seize a body and be reborn, there is truly no more suitable physical form than the little 5 elements king's. However, for me, there is another choice. "Oh, what choice?" Li Qingyuan asked with curiosity. Zhao Guanzhang said, "Master, once the soul-refining forbidden banner is completed, it will require a main soul and also a vessel spirit. In life, this old man was at the peak of body integration and is well versed in the art of the forbidden banner. If this old man becomes the main soul and vessel spirit, he can maximize the banner's power. Furthermore, this old man can help Master refine the 10,000 souls and command them." Li Qingyuan raised an eyebrow. "You're willing to give up the chance at rebirth and become the main soul of the forbidden banner?" "Why?" Li Qingyuan asked. Zhao Guangjing said, "To be honest, this old man sees infinite possibility in Master. I want to gamble. In my early years, I obtained a secret ghost cultivation technique. Once I become the main soul of the forbidden banner, I can command the 10,000 souls and cultivate the ghost path. This is also a gamble on Master's future. If Master can one day become an immortal, the forbidden banner can also become an immortal artifact, and I can use my ghost cultivation body to ascend to ghost immortal, becoming the vessel spirit of an immortal artifact. That too is a path to immortality." Li Qingyuan was speechless. "Becoming an immortal, I don't even have confidence in that myself. Yet you have faith in me." Zhao Guanzhang thought to himself, "The last reason, and the most important one, is this. If I leave the Xuanpin space and seize a body to be reborn, breaking free from your control, it might seem like a path to life, but, in truth, it would be a dead end. Knowing your greatest spatial secret, knowing all the weaknesses of your techniques, would you really let me leave?" He had not forgotten that when this master was assaulting the late-stage golden core physical body, he had told him that if his true nature showed any unusual movement, he would be killed without mercy. He did not know that he had walked through the gates of hell. So, was he perhaps walking through the gates of hell right now as well, becoming the main soul of the forbidden banner? This was the retreat Zhao Guanzhang had long prepared for himself, and also a thread of opportunity for future immortality. That was why, when he had seen the 5-spirit demon cloud transform into a precious medicine, he had been so incredibly excited. The stronger the forbidden banner, the more nourishment he, as the main soul, would receive. Li Qingyuan pondered for a moment, then said, "Very well, I respect your decision. If old Zhao wanted to become the master of the forbidden banner, that was a good thing for him. He had no reason to refuse. This little 5 elements king is excellent material for corpse refining, heh." Li Qingyuan activated the 4th tier Yin-Sha Pearl. He channeled the corpse refining secret technique, forming hand seals to draw forth an eruption of Yin-Sha energy, refining the little 5 elements king while he was still alive. The unconscious little 5 elements. King's body was tempered by Yin-Sha energy, honed and polished by the power of wind and thunder. His 3-inch golden core was devoured bit by the Yin-Sha energy. The nascent soul divine sense within his Niwan palace was gradually consumed and replaced by the Yin-Sha pearl. A faint smile curled at the corner of Li Qingyuan's mouth. Once this little 5 elements king corpse puppet was refined into a clone, and when it advanced to the nascent soul stage in the future, he would directly obtain a nascent soul-level clone as a fighting puppet. But, in the next instant, an unexpected change occurred. From deep within the little 5 elements King's bloodline, a dormant aura of late-stage golden core peak erupted. A majestic voice, sounding very much like a younger version of the Five Elements King himself, spoke. The wrath of a king seized the soul. Who? Chapter 4:18, The Little Five Elements. King Clone, overflowing with riches. Who? The Little Five Elements. King suddenly awoke. From deep within his bloodline erupted a power that belonged to him, yet did not belong to him. They shared the same bloodline origin, the same aura. It was impossible to distinguish them, but once this power awakened, it could turn the guest into the host and seize control of the Little Five Elements, King's physical body. Li Qingyuan was startled. He immediately increased his magical power output, using the third-tier rope, the spirit sealing talisman, and the restriction techniques to suppress the Little Five Elements King, driving the Yin Sha Pearl to forcefully refine him. The Little Five Elements. King's eyes blazed with a soul-seizing glare. "Who are you? How dare you kill my son?" Li Qingyuan could not be bothered to respond. He focused all his power on the refinement. Ji Kun spat out the heaven-swallowing sphere, suspending it above the Little Five Elements, King's head. 7-colored spiritual light cascaded down, maintaining the spatial sealing force and firmly restricting the enemy. The Little Five Elements. King's late-stage golden core peak aura erupted. His combat power was comparable to the Little Five Elements King at his peak, but due to the layer's restrictions, he could not break free. As the Yin Sha energy entered his body, the Little Five Elements King let out a miserable scream. Strangely, however, the Little Five Elements King's face seemed to bear two different expressions, and one mouth produced two different voices. "Father King, save me! Save me! Release my son, and this king can spare your life." The only thing they shared was the same screams and wails of agony. Finally, half an hour passed. The Little Five Elements King was completely dead, replaced by the life-bound corpse puppet that Li Qingyuan had refined. Li Qingyuan forced a drop of essence blood from between his brows. Then he cut his own nascent soul divine sense, severing a wisp of divine sense origin and merging it into the essence blood. This formed the clone's soul, creating the clone's spirit soul. The clone's spirit soul entered the corpse's Niwan palace and burrowed into the Yin Sha Pearl, forming spirit soul, divine sense, and spiritual power. At this point, the Little Five Elements King corpse puppet was fully refined. The Little Five Elements. King's eyes opened. He looked at Li Qingyuan, then at the blood shadow, and clasped his hands in salute. "Greetings, fellow Taoist Qingyuan, fellow Taoist blood shadow." Li Qingyuan's face was pale. He exhaled a long, turbid breath and said with lingering fear, "I was careless. No wonder the corpse puppet sect's Yin Sha. True Lord only refined a single life-bound corpse puppet. If not for the Jianmu sapling protecting my divine sense origin, even with my innate divine soul being strong and my soul foundation equivalent to that of two people, I would not have been able to simultaneously refine two life-bound corpse puppets. Fortunately, I cultivated the Jianmu visualization technique. After cutting my divine sense a second time, my divine sense origin was not damaged." Li Qingyuan continued. "This is the second life-bound corpse puppet, and also the last clone for this stage. If I refine any more, my divine sense will be damaged, which would be unfavorable for my assault on divine transformation." Of course, having two golden core clones was already more than satisfying for Li Qingyuan. Moreover, this second clone was the Little Five Elements King himself, the #1 cultivator below the nascent soul stage. At his full power, his trump cards could contend with a declining early nascent soul cultivator. Li Qingyuan said softly, "Even without his full-strength methods, he is still nearly invincible at the golden core stage." He looked at the Little Five Elements King corpse puppet clone, thought for a moment and said, "Your name is Dugu Xiaoyuan. From today onward, I will call you Eryuan. Withdraw." Li Qingyuan waved his sleeve, and the Eryuan clone was taken into the Xuanpin space. He was worried that the Five Elements King might have some way to track and sense the Little Five Elements King. Storing him in the Xuanpin space was the safest option. Fortunately, the Xuanpin space had absorbed the life Shirang and devoured Zhao Guangzheng's parasitic origin, evolving into a 300 Zhang physical form space that could store all things, including living beings. Li Qingyuan exhaled. The 5 Qi return state dissipated. The fire Qi, wind Qi, water Qi, star power, and metal Qi all dispersed simultaneously, returning to heaven and earth. Li Qingyuan felt an intense weakness wash over him. His head spun, his ears rang, his waist and back ached, and his bones felt brittle. He immediately consumed a third-tier pill to restore his magical power and recover his body's vitality. After a moment, Li Qingyuan finally felt some improvement. With a crack, the fourth-tier magical instrument in Li Qingyuan's hand, the Persuade with Virtue halberd, shattered. The magical instrument formed from 6 third-tier middle-grade halberds was completely destroyed. Alas, the 5-Qi return to origin technique is powerful, but it consumes a lot, places a heavy burden on the body, and each use destroys a 4th-tier magical instrument. Li Qingyuan's face twisted with pain. Father. Li Shanhuang waited until Li Qingyuan had finished handling all his affairs before stepping forward and bowing. Xian'er greets father. Li Qingyuan turned to look at his daughter. Her features resembled his own. The forehead, eyebrows, and nose were exactly like his. Only her chin and lips were like Luo Ling's. She was 60% like her father and 40% like her mother. Dressed in white robes, she seemed detached from the world. Her long hair was coiled up with a hairpin, and she possessed a refined, intelligent beauty. Li Qingyuan sighed. Xian'er, your father searched for you so bitterly. I had just formed my golden core and returned home, and you had just left to find me. But I searched all 7 kingdoms of Huang province without finding any trace of you. Logically, given your speed, it would have been difficult for you to leave the 7 kingdoms of Huang province. I never expected you to have come to this void refinement grotto heaven. Li Shanhuang let out a long breath of relief. It is good that father has seen grandfather and grandmother. They miss you very much. At these words, the father and daughter fell into silence. What was there to talk about? For a moment, it seemed they had no common topic. Li Qingyuan looked at Zhao Guangjing and asked, "Old Zhao, do you know what that earlier change in the Little Five Elements King was all about?" Zhao Guangjing pondered for a moment, then said, "This is a bloodline secret technique. When a cultivator has a descendant whose bloodline is highly compatible with their own, they can use a bloodline secret technique to merge part of their power into the descendant's bloodline. If the descendant encounters danger, the bloodline power can erupt, allowing them to remotely control the descendant's physical body and unleash powerful strength to escape. But the 5 Elements King is only at the nascent soul peak," Li Qingyuan said. "I see," old Zhao mused. He was probably worried about being detected by the human king, so he only used it lightly. That way, with the bloodline being identical, the human king would not be able to sense anything unusual. Li Qingyuan frowned. "Do you think the 5 Elements King truly did this to protect his son?" Zhao Guangjing raised an eyebrow. "Master, you mean?" Li Qingyuan said softly. "The human king has been cultivating for 900 years. The 5 Elements King is slightly older than the human king, and his lifespan is nearing 1,000 years. If he does not cross the divine transformation lightning tribulation, if he does not cultivate a divine transformation physical body, 1,000 years will be his limit. And this little 5 Elements King is the #1 prodigy under heaven, raised by the 5 Elements King with all his resources. At every realm, the 5 Elements King personally guided him to refine his foundation. He truly surpasses the master." "Father, are you saying that the 5 Elements King has another design on the little 5 elements? King's physical body?" Li Shanhuang gasped. Li Qingyuan nodded. "Xian'er, your father will teach you your first lesson today. In the world of immortal cultivation, no matter who it is, even your own father or mother, you must reserve a measure of vigilance, a measure of strength, and a measure of secrets." He had not even told his parents about the Xuanpan space. Li Shanhuang's pretty face turned serious. She clasped her hands in salute. "Father, Xian'er has received your teaching." Perhaps her father was not emotionally qualified as a parent, but he was definitely a qualified spiritual guide on the path of immortal cultivation. Li Qingyuan waved his hand, summoning the 5 quasi-4th-tier magical instruments, 5 elements: Mountain, Spirit, Soul Bell. Li Qingyuan's magical power swept out again, and the imitation 5 elements, Mountain, and the Spirit Soul Bell treasure fell into his hands. He laughed. "Although I paid the price of a top-grade spirit stone and the destruction of the Persuade with Virtue halberd, I not only eliminated the great enemy that was the little 5 Elements King, but I also gained a full harvest. 5 quasi-4th-tier magical instruments, the imitation, 5 Elements Mountain, and the Spirit Soul Bell treasure. Eryuan was a late-stage Golden Core Peak Corpse Puppet clone. And finally, the little 5 Elements King's storage pouch. Li Qingyuan opened the storage pouch and looked inside. Various magical instruments and precious medicines flew out, and his eyes lit up. I'm rich. 9 Suns. Lingji, 5 Elements, Fruit Tree, Earth Infant Fruit Tree, Quasi-4th Tier Demon Beast Spirit Souls and Demon Pills, countless 3rd Tier Late-Stage Demon Beast Materials, various magical instruments and golden core treasures numbering in the hundreds, a jade slip containing an ancient artifact, refining inheritance, capable of refining magical treasures. Various jade slips, various techniques, various spells, all sorts of things, numbering in the hundreds, talisman papers, spirit milk, artifact refining materials, spirit stone resources, endless and inexhaustible. Not even a late nascent soul grand cultivator, let alone an ordinary early nascent soul cultivator, would be this wealthy. Most importantly, he could replicate them and double his resources. Li Qingyuan's eyes shone brightly, and he laughed heartily. Haha, I'm rich! I'm rich! He did not usually lose his composure unless he had gained too much. This time, he had truly earned a mountain of riches. Boom! Suddenly, from outside the void refinement grotto, heaven, a powerful beam of spiritual light chiseled at the space itself. A majestic mountain struck, causing the space to tremble and the void refinement grotto heaven to begin collapsing bit by bit. A wrathful roar like the fury of a god echoed, "Who killed my son?" Li Qingyuan's expression changed. Chapter 419. The heavenly eye acknowledges its master. The lotus lamp acknowledges its master. Who killed my son? I want him dead. Outside the void refinement grotto, heaven, 2 colossal Dharma images towered against the sky. One figure wielded a great halberd, drawing upon the power of heavenly tribulation, while the other commanded a mountain that shattered heaven and earth. They were chiseling through space itself, opening a passage between the inside and outside. Li Qingyuan's expression shifted dramatically. It's the 5 Elements King. He sensed the little 5 Elements King's fall. Is it a bloodline secret technique? He asked. Old Zhao, the 5 Elements King, couldn't possibly share vision or information, could he? Zhao Guangzheng shook his head. Rest assured, that's impossible. Even a true divine transformation cultivator couldn't accomplish such a feat, let alone the 5 Elements King. He merely sensed something when the bloodline secret technique's energy burned out completely. Li Qingyuan waved his hand. All of you, come inside quickly. Shanna, relax your mind and don't resist. The Xuanpin space emitted a pulling force, drawing in Zhao Guangzheng, Ji Kun, the Blood Shadow, the Flame Dragon Lizard, and his daughter. Where is this place? Li Xianhuang came to her senses in the Xuanpin space and saw row after row of 3rd and 4th grade spirit plants, along with precious medicines that surpassed even spirit plants. Additionally, there were 2 pieces of soul suppressing stones, and 2 drops of ancient supreme blood. The Flame Dragon Lizard returned to the Xuanpin space once more, staring at the ancient supreme blood. From deep within its body, a craving rooted in its bloodline and genes emerged. It drooled continuously, its mouth watering with desire. Li Qingyuan witnessed this scene as well, but this was not the time for him to understand why Little Flame was acting this way. Suddenly, the Xuanpin space emitted a beam of creation light. The radiance enveloped Li Xianhuang, and in the next moment, a primordial spirit of an avian true spirit flew out from within his body. A screech rang out. The undying bird's primordial spirit was entirely crimson-red like fire, resembling both a phoenix and a vermilion bird. It existed somewhere between the two, a mutated divine beast that was a variant of both phoenix and vermilion bird. Zhao Guangzheng was astonished. The primordial spirit of an undying bird? A divine beast, the undying bird? Though it is weakened, it is still slightly stronger than this old man. Zhao Guangzheng, Ji Kun, the Blood Shadow, and the Flame Dragon Lizard all became alert, staring at the undying bird. The undying bird's primordial spirit remained silent. Who am I? Where am I? What kind of space is this? What divine ability or technique? The undying bird looked at the rows of precious medicines and rare treasures, sighing in admiration. Great fortune indeed. Xian'er, your father is extraordinary. He possesses a great immortal opportunity. The Blood Shadow clone's gaze was wary as it asked, Who are you? Why are you inside my daughter's body? Xian'er's arrival in this space Does it have something to do with you? The undying bird, constrained by the power of this space, had its body reduced to only 3 zhang in size. It looked at the blood shadow and said, "I have already sensed it. You are indeed a clone," he refined. The blood shadow spoke. "Regarding today's matter, I ask that you give me an explanation. Otherwise, Zhao Guangjing and Ji Kun prepared to strike." The weakened spiritual nature of the Xuanpin space also responded to Li Qingyuan, and the power of the space suppressed the undying bird's primordial spirit, weakening its strength. The undying bird said, "I am Hong Yuan, the young chieftain of the undying bird clan. It was fate that led me to remain within your daughter's body. Rest assured, if I had intended to harm her, she would have died long ago." Li Qingyuan said cautiously, "Just because you haven't harmed her now doesn't mean you won't in the future. How can I trust you?" Hong Yuan sighed helplessly. "Fine. To put your mind at ease, I can swear a heavenly Tao oath. I swear by the name of the undying bird young chieftain, by the name of Hong Yuan, that I have no intention of harming Li Xianhuang. On the contrary, I will take her as my disciple and impart immortal opportunities to her." Li Qingyuan pondered for a moment, then said, "Swear one more time. Regarding today's events in this space, everything you have seen and heard, you must not reveal a single detail." Zhao Guangjing held the soul-suppressing stone and the 5-spirit demon cloud, his primordial spirit power spreading outward, specializing in attacking souls, spirits, and primordial spirits. "Hong Yuan, here you are, at least a first-stage primordial spirit body, an old hand at the immortal path. How could you willingly act like a dog for a mere core formation junior?" Forced by the circumstances, Hong Yuan had no choice but to swear again, making a heavenly Tao oath that she would never reveal anything she had seen or heard today, especially Li Qingyuan's spatial secret treasure. She knew nothing of the replication function, but she understood that spatial treasures, immortal estates, pagodas, and similar heavy treasures were extremely precious. At the very least, they required a great ascension cultivator to refine. After swearing the oath, Hong Yuan pouted and said, "Enough, enough. It's just a mere spatial immortal estate. As the young chieftain of the undying bird clan, I've seen plenty. I'm not impressed. A space of only 300 zhang isn't even enough for me to stretch my limbs." Hong Yuan smiled ambiguously. "You'd better think about how to escape from this predicament. The Human King and the 5 Elements King are not easy opponents on the 9 provinces continent." The Blood Shadow clone replied on his behalf, "That's none of your concern. Old Zhao, come out and get to work." Zhao Guangjing held the soul-suppressing stone and left the Xuanpin space. His primordial spirit power spread outward, pouring into the soul-suppressing stone. Instantly, a powerful pulling force emanated from it. "Devour for me this old man. Devour fiercely. Before the space collapses, devour everything." He hummed. The soul-suppressing stone radiated light. A power that acted upon souls spread outward, and its pulling force permeated the void refinement grotto. Heaven, drawing in the dead souls and wandering spirits that gathered there. Even from an extremely great distance, the soul-suppressing stone's pulling force remained terrifying. One by one, souls were absorbed, swept in, devoured, and drawn into the soul-suppressing stone. Li Qingyuan activated his heart demon eye. Using his golden core divine sense, he vaguely saw the little 5 elements: King, Fire Spirit, Wood Spirit, Earth Spirit, Metal Spirit, the core formation disciples of the 5 Elements Gate, and the fallen core formation prodigies from various other forces. There were thousands of dead souls at the core formation level, more than 2,000 in total. "The water spirit is missing." Li Qingyuan's expression showed confusion. Zhao Guangjing explained, "The water spirit was seized by true nature through possession. His golden core, 3 souls, and 7 spirits were all devoured completely, reduced to mere nourishment. His cycle of reincarnation has been severed." "I see. Possession is so ruthless." Li Qingyuan's expression showed surprise. A quarter of an hour later, Zhao Guangjing put away the soul-suppressing stone. At this moment, the stone had become even more emerald green, shining brightly, captivating the mind, as if it had consumed a great tonic. "Master." A streak of light flew over. It was true nature. Li Qingyuan said, "True nature, you've arrived at just the right time. The Human King and the 5 Elements King are about to break through the spatial barrier. What are your plans? Will you return to the 5 Elements Gate as the Water Spirit, gain their trust and lie low? or will you continue to serve under my command?" Upon hearing this, True Nature looked up at the phantom Dharma image of the Five Elements King. Hesitation appeared in his eyes. After a few breaths, he spoke. "Master, this subordinate wishes to remain under your command and serve you." "Good. Enter the space." Li Qingyuan waved his sleeve. Zhao Guangjing, holding the soul-suppressing stone, and True Nature followed closely behind, entering the Xuanpin space. Zhao Guangjing transmitted his voice. "True Nature, my boy, you've just walked past the gates of hell once more. If you had thought that the Five Elements King, having cultivated his primordial spirit, could help you break the nascent soul true blood seal and gain your freedom, and thus had chosen to join the Five Elements Gate, then there would be one more living soul in this soul-suppressing stone." Upon hearing these words, a chill ran down True Nature's spine. He had indeed entertained such thoughts just now. Fortunately, he had made the right decision. This master was one who acted decisively and without mercy. He knew about the Xuanpin space. He knew about his master's daughter, his master's clan. He knew these secrets. If he wanted to leave his master, death was the only possibility. No, even after death his bones would be ground to dust and his soul extracted. Even his spirit would not be able to escape. True Nature was still shaken. The heavenly eye? Li Shanhuang let out a cry of surprise. The heavenly eye in her hand flew out, resonating with the Xuanpin space and emitting light. Then, the heavenly eye flew over to Li Qingyuan. The vertical eye opened, its pupil gazing at Li Qingyuan. It transformed into a streak of light that drilled into his body, entered his Niwan palace, and landed on the small Jianmu tree. The 9-inch Jianmu sapling, with its 9 green leaves in full bloom, received the heavenly eye. The eye lay on the tree trunk, falling into a deep slumber, nourished by strands of the seed of longevity's aura. In the void refinement grotto, heaven, within a mysterious space, a 3-year-old porcelain doll laughed. The heavenly eye has acknowledged its master. The successor that Mistress Sister sought for her brother has been found. According to the agreement, now that the heavenly eye has acknowledged its master, I can also go out. A loud boom echoed. The next moment, the myriad medicine divine mountain flew out. Spatial laws spread outward as it began to shrink repeatedly. The 10,000 Zhang divine medicine mountain transformed into a tiny lotus seed pod. The lotus seed pod flew out, perfectly joining with the 5-colored lotus. 5 lotus flowers bloomed, representing the 5 fiends' secret realm. A pair of lotus seed pods blossomed, representing the myriad medicine divine mountain. Swish, the mysterious magic treasure, the 5-colored lotus lamp, tore through the sky, cutting through space. Following the heavenly eye's perception, it instantly arrived before Li Qingyuan and drilled into his brow. Li Qingyuan was startled. What the hell was that? Another thing drilling into my body? At the same time, the lotus lamp's artifact spirit, the 3-year-old porcelain doll, entered the Xuanpin space. Terrified, she began to cry. "Wah, what kind of place is this? Your grandmother can't get out. Wah, I want out, I want out." Li Qingyuan, Chapter 42 Faos, Little Artifact Spirit, Yang Xiao Hei. What is this thing? A little doll? A 3- or 4-year-old little girl? Li Qingyuan was dumbfounded. In the Xuanpin space, the undying bird and Zhao Guangjing exclaimed in surprise, "This is an artifact spirit?" Hiss! An artifact spirit actually exists on the 9 provinces continent. Artifact spirit. Li Qingyuan and his daughter Li Shanhuang both showed surprise and asked in unison. The undying bird said, "An artifact spirit is the personification of a magic treasure's spirit taking human form. Any magic treasure that possesses an artifact spirit is without exception a top-tier treasure, worthy of being called an immortal artifact embryo." Indeed, Zhao Guangjing added, any magic treasure with an artifact spirit has the potential to become an immortal artifact. Of course, there is another possibility. Zhao Guangjing's expression turned serious as he said, "Legend has it that when an immortal artifact falls in grade, its artifact spirit is also damaged, falling in grade as well." Li Qingyuan's mind stirred. The Xuanpin space activated its creation light, and the radiance enveloped the little artifact spirit girl. The little girl had been crying and worrying, but suddenly she bathed in the creation light. Her entire body felt warm and comfortable, extremely pleasant. She swam joyfully and said, so warm. Even the incomplete great Tao laws within my body are being nourished, on the verge of being perfected. Li Qingyuan's expression changed. It can't be replicated? A hiss sounded. Li Qingyuan drew in a sharp breath. This was the first time the Xuanpin space had failed to replicate something. Why was this? Was it because it possessed an artifact spirit, or because the 5-colored lotus lamp was a top-tier treasure? No, that wasn't right either. The 9 Suns spirit fungus was also a top-tier precious medicine. The soul-suppressing stone was also a rare treasure that suppressed and absorbed 10,000 souls. The ancient supreme blood could also be replicated. Why then could this 5-colored lotus lamp not be replicated? Try again. Li Qingyuan's mind stirred. He urged the Xuanpin space to erupt with creation light. Intense creation light enveloped the artifact spirit little girl and the 5-colored lotus lamp. The next moment, the 5-colored lotus lamp burst forth with radiance. The 5 types of power within the treasure's origin, the law of yin fire, the law of Baifeng wind, the law of heavenly thunder, the karma illusion realm, and the restriction runes seemed to be nourished and replenished. They erupted with even more intense brilliance, filling the entire Xuanpin space. If Li Qingyuan were not the master of the Xuanpin space, every living being within it, Li Shanhuang, Ji Kun, the flame dragon lizard, the blood shadow, Er Yuan, and even the undying bird and Zhao Guangzheng would have died from the power of these 5 laws. The little artifact spirit girl said happily, "Master brother, please continue. More." A soft giggle, so warm, so comforting. The artifact spirit swam and bathed in the creation light. The 3-year-old porcelain doll began to grow, 3.5 years old, 4, 4.5, 5. Soon, she became a big doll around 5 years old. She had a chubby baby face, big, dark, glistening eyes, a pair of long goat-tail braids, and wore a little 5-colored dress. Her little feet were bare, and she let out peals of cheerful laughter. Li Qingyuan's fatherly heart was stirred. He smiled and said, "My Xian'er must have been just as adorable when she was little." "Master brother, more! I want the warm light," the little artifact spirit urged. Li Qingyuan came back to his senses. His expression changed. The Xuanpin space has shrunk? Damn it, the small world space, originally 300 jang in radius, had shrunk by 100 jang. Leaving it only 200 jang in radius. This made Li Qingyuan's heart bleed. "I can't do it anymore. If I continue, I won't even have any space left." Li Qingyuan sternly refused the little artifact spirit. The little artifact spirit pouted, her big dark eyes looking pitiful and wronged, both cute and pathetic. Li Qingyuan's expression turned contemplative as he thought to himself, although the Xuanpin space cannot replicate the 5-colored lotus lamp and its artifact spirit, it can consume the origin of the creation light to replenish and repair it. And the 5-colored lotus lamp is a top-tier treasure. If it is successfully repaired, wouldn't it become an immortal artifact? Thinking of this, Li Qingyuan's heart trembled. Could it be that the Xuanpin space could repair, perfect, and restore immortal artifacts? But the price was consuming its own origin, and as for replenishing the Xuanpin space's origin, currently, Li Qingyuan only knew of one method, one thing, absorbing Xirang, the soil of nourishment. And as for Xirang, according to Zhao Guangzheng, even in the 9 heavens and 10 earths, it was difficult to find. To encounter it by chance was a great immortal opportunity. Alas! Li Qingyuan sighed inwardly. He would deal with this matter another day. Li Qingyuan looked at the little artifact spirit and asked, "Back then, when the dragon origin grass flew toward me, was that your doing?" That's right, master brother." The little artifact spirit quickly nodded, seeking credit. "I saw that master brother had extraordinary talent, cultivating both body and ki, and that you would sooner or later become the Heavenly Eye's successor, so I showed goodwill in advance." Originally, she had only thought Li Qingyuan was barely qualified to become the Heavenly Eye's successor. Now, it seemed he was more than suitable. She absolutely loved this space. Li Qingyuan asked, puzzled, "Does the Heavenly Eye come from Lord Divine General? Is Lord Divine General your master?" The little artifact spirit first nodded, then shook her head. After thinking for a moment, she said, "My original master was Lord Divine General's younger sister. Later, Lord Divine General had to do something extremely dangerous, so he left his bloodline Heavenly Eye with my master. After my master obtained Lord Divine General's Heavenly Eye, she disguised herself as Lord Divine General and took his place guarding the 9 provinces' heavenly domain. Unexpectedly, 100,000 years ago, a great war spread to the 9 heavens and 10 earths, and even sank the 9 provinces' heavenly domain. The little artifact spirit said sorrowfully, "Mistress Sister was trapped in this realm. The heavenly Tao laws were incomplete and began to devour them. Any cultivator above the divine transformation realm who made a move would consume their origin, consume their lifespan, and be forcibly merged into heaven and earth, becoming nourishment." "What about your master?" Li Qingyuan asked. Mistress Sister left behind her inheritance, then dissolved into the Tao and merged with heaven and earth. At this point, the little artifact spirit cried sadly. Li Qingyuan asked, "That war 100,000 years ago, was it very terrifying? It actually spread to the 9 heavens and 10 earths." The little artifact spirit thought for a moment, then shook her head. "I don't remember the specifics anymore. It seems that an invisible force of karma has blurred my memories." Li Qingyuan's expression changed drastically. "It was that powerful? Was it really that much of an exaggeration?" "What is your name?" Li Qingyuan asked her. The 5-year-old little artifact spirit said, "Mistress Sister was called Yang He, so I am called Yang Xiaohe." "Yang Xiaohe," Li Qingyuan murmured. It was indeed an adorable name. "May I ask Lord Divine General's esteemed name?" Li Qingyuan pressed further. Yang Xiaohe said, "Lord Divine General's name is Yang Mi." "Yang Mi?" Li Qingyuan muttered. "I thought it would be Yang Jin." Yang Xiaohe was greatly shocked. You, how do you know the name of the Divine General clan, the Yang clan's ancestor?" "What?" This time, it was Li Qingyuan's turn to be greatly surprised. The ancestor of the Divine General clan was actually named Yang Jian. Was this a coincidence? Li Qingyuan asked. "Is the ancestor of the Divine General clan still alive?" The little artifact spirit shook her head. "I don't know. Probably dead. For millions of years, the immortal path of the 9 heavens and 10 earths has been severed. The ancient immortal Tao giants have all died. The ancestor of the Divine General clan has probably met the same fate." Li Qingyuan's expression darkened. It was that phrase again, the immortal path of the 9 heavens and 10 earths had been severed. But neither Zhao Guangzheng nor the little artifact spirit could explain why the immortal path had been severed. With a thunderous crash, the void refinement grotto, heaven collapsed. The spatial laws disintegrated. The entire space shattered, completely merging with the world of the 9 provinces continent, the 5 elements. King was filled with killing intent as he demanded once more, "Which one of you killed my son?" His 5 elements, Dharma. Image towered against the sky. The 5 elements mountain hung suspended in the air above. A spiritual power that surpassed nascent soul. Divine sense swept over them like a net, searching. Li Qingyuan's expression was as calm as still water. Finally, he asked, "Senior Hongyuan, Old Zhao, Yang Xiaohe, if the 3 of you join forces in your current states, can you contend with the 5 elements king, or even slay him?" Chapter 4, 121. The 5 elements. King's fury, blood rushing to his heart. Zhao Guangzheng said, "Master, my parasitic main body, the Ginxi soil, was absorbed and refined by the spatial forces. My primordial spirit origin has also been devoured by more than half. In my current state, I can only match an ordinary late-stage nascent soul cultivator. And even that was merely matching, not defeating." The undying bird let out a faint, melancholy sigh. "Alas! 100,000 years ago I was schemed against by others and suffered severe injuries. I fled into the 9 provinces' heavenly domain to heal. I never expected that a great battle would plunge this entire heavenly domain into silence. To survive, to avoid being sensed and devoured by the power of the heavenly Tao, I used my nirvana flame to burn away my primordial spirit. Now I only possess the combat power of a peak, nascent soul cultivator. This 5 elements king has already cultivated a primordial spirit and comprehended the artistic conception of divine transformation. He only needs to be sensed by the heavenly Tao and have the divine transformation lightning tribulation descend to temper his physical body before he can formally step into the divine transformation stage. One could say he is a cultivator who can enter the divine transformation stage at any moment." Zhao Guangzheng added, That five elements mountain is no ordinary magic treasure either. There must be killing moves hidden within it, a universe concealed inside its depths. Wielding such a Dharma treasure, the five elements king would be qualified to do battle even against other divine transformation cultivators. The key point is that aside from the five elements king, there is also the human king. Zhao Guangjing analyzed, Master, although the human king and the five elements king appear to be enemies, but if I make a move, the seven kingdoms of Huang province will surely not tolerate you. The human king will not tolerate you either. I fear even the Three Joys Immortal sect will be implicated because of you. The Undying Bird chimed in. This human king is even more terrifying than the five elements king. If he sets his sights on me and wants to refine me into the artifact spirit of his magic treasure, what will we do then? Yang Xiaohei pondered for a moment before speaking. I can only barely activate the lotus lamp for defense. I cannot fully unleash its power. Blocking the five elements king for a short while would not be difficult. However, if you, Master Brother, were to cultivate a primordial spirit and reach the peak of the nascent soul stage, with my assistance, we could definitely slay this five elements king. Li Qingyuan fell into deep thought. I understand. In your current states, if the three of you join forces, you will be no weaker than the five elements king. But the human king's intentions are unclear. It is hard to discern friend from foe. If the human king also makes a move, we will undoubtedly lose. Moreover, we would expose more secrets and opportunities, inviting deadly disaster. One soul, one bird, and one artifact spirit. The three of them nodded in unison. That's right, that's right. Li Qingyuan withdrew his focus and activated the formless divine ability, altering his appearance to that of a mid-stage core formation cultivator, neither outstanding nor too weak, belonging to the middle tier. The formless divine ability cannot be seen through without the power of a primordial spirit. Li Qingyuan took a deep breath and said, Let's gamble that the human king will protect me. Gambling was only the first plan, one that relied on luck. The second plan was to abandon all illusions when necessary, begin fighting, and break out of the encirclement. Li Qingyuan sent a voice transmission. Xiaohei, Old Zhao, Senior Hongyuan, please prepare for battle. Hongyuan glanced at Li Shanhuang and saw the eager anticipation in her eyes. She sighed helplessly. Very well, for the sake of my disciple Xian'er, I will fight for you this once. The five elements. King's primordial spirit power spread outward, conducting a blanket search. It swept across the 700 or 800 surviving core formation prodigies, examining each one, their secrets, their thoughts, their memories, their resources and treasures. The five elements. King extracted a great deal of information. Among it was the enmity between Li Qingyuan and the little five elements king, as well as the battle between them. Li Qingyuan had ambushed his son, the little five elements king, instantly wasting the divine soul unity secret technique he had been cultivating. Then he had fought against his son, who had erupted with the five elements' true nascent art. All of this information was read from their minds. The five elements king trembled with rage. Where is Li Qingyuan? Get out here, you wretch! The 700 or 800 core formation prodigies trembled in fear. Under the spreading killing intent of the enraged five elements king, they felt like tiny boats adrift on a vast ocean, on the verge of capsizing at any moment. His primordial spirit power radiated the artistic conception of divine transformation. This power of artistic conception stirred heaven and earth. Heaven itself manifested killing intent. The stars shifted in the sky, and even the firmament changed color. Soon, the five elements king's primordial spirit power swept toward them, about to cover Li Qingyuan. Li Qingyuan's scalp went numb. The Xuanpin space had long been opened. Zhao Guangjing, Hongyuan, and Yang Xiaohei were poised to strike. At this critical moment, a figure wreathed in lightning streaked across the sky. A three-colored lightning tribulation began to coalesce. The artistic conception of divine transformation was the lightning heavenly tribulation, a power of the heavenly Tao, standing above all living beings, before which all techniques prostrated themselves. Rumble, the lightning artistic conception descended. Thunder and lightning filled the sky, dispersing the five elements. King's divine transformation artistic conception, suppressing his killing intent. The void churned and exploded with continuous booming sounds. The human king, Du Gulei, spoke calmly. Uncle Five Elements. King, I fear there may be some misunderstanding here. After all, Uncle himself said that the little five elements king was invincible at the core formation stage, the #1 prodigy of the 9 provinces and Uncle's most beloved son. Who could kill him? Who would dare to kill him? Dugu Yuan's expression froze upon hearing these words. Not long ago he had declared with absolute confidence, "My son is invincible at the core formation stage. All the prodigies of the 9 provinces are merely his defeated opponents." At this very moment, those words, spoken back to him by the human king, ignited a blaze of fury within him while also filling him with unbearable humiliation. The soft blade he had once extended had now cut into his own heart. The little five elements king was his pride, the most perfect bloodline and physical body he had painstakingly cultivated over nearly 100 years with careful planning. He was also the basis for establishing an even stronger immortal cultivation foundation, one of his schemes to surpass the human king. For someone like him, the little five elements king was far more than just a son, the killing intent in the 5 elements. King's eyes could not be contained. His powerful aura erupted, clashing against the human king's lightning heavenly tribulation. He even summoned the 5 elements mountain Dharma treasure to suppress the lightning power, saying, "Your Majesty, my son is indeed dead. Regardless of who did it, I will make them pay with blood." The human king frowned. I have already said that the little 5 elements king was invincible at the core formation stage. Who could possibly be his match? Perhaps he made a mistake in his cultivation, or perhaps he was too eager to break through to nascent soul and died under the nascent soul lightning tribulation or the heart demon tribulation. His body and Tao have perished. The 5 elements king. Do you really expect me to believe that my son was that foolish? Please step aside, Your Majesty, the 5 elements king said in a low and deep voice. The human king spoke calmly. I hereby declare that this Human King Hall trial selection has concluded successfully. Those ranked in the top 100 by points shall enter the Human King Hall, become my disciples, and be registered as my nominal students. Those ranked in the top 3 may make any request of me. The Human King's thick brows flew upward. He wore a black robe embroidered with coiled dragons, his broad chest exposed. His 9-foot frame was imposing and majestic. Powerful lightning began to coalesce around him as he said in a deep voice, "Heavenly envoys, elders, what say you?" Killing intent flickered in the 5 elements king's eyes. "Your Majesty means to say that my son's death should be brushed aside so lightly?" The human king replied. "You have a son, you have sect prodigies, everyone else has them too. Of the more than 4,000 core formation prodigies, the survivors, plus the several hundred who ignited their jade tokens to escape, barely number over 1,200. Many people have lost their sons. Many have lost their disciples. The casualties from this trial are as tragic as those from 300 years ago." The human king's gaze swept across the 4 directions. He said calmly, "I asked you all before, what should be done if the casualties were severe?" Uncle 5 elements. King, do you remember how you answered? The 5 elements. King was momentarily stunned. At the time he had declared with absolute certainty, "It doesn't matter. As prodigies enjoying the best resources in the 9 provinces, they should endure the harshest trials. So-called geniuses only become truly strong if they survive. The dead will be forgotten." Your Majesty need not worry. My son is invincible at the core formation stage. Moreover, this is the trial they must accept as prodigies. Defeat or death only proves one thing: the losers are all trash. The 5 elements. King's aura became disordered. His mind was shaken. Was the little 5 elements king trash? Had he raised a piece of trash? Proud and arrogant as he was, he had personally cultivated the little 5 elements king, polishing his realm to perfection, building a foundation so deep it even surpassed his own at that age. He believed that when his son stepped into the nascent soul stage and formed his nascent soul, the little 5 elements king would have at least a 60 to 70% chance of attracting the nascent soul lightning tribulation. Once he advanced to nascent soul, he would be invincible at the same level. This physical body, capable of attracting the nascent soul lightning tribulation, was the perfect vessel he had cultivated with countless resources, endless energy, and painstaking effort. The father-son bloodline, spirit root aptitude, and physical factors were so perfectly aligned that he would never encounter nor be able to cultivate such a body again. Although his lifespan was somewhat longer than that of an ordinary peak, nascent soul cultivator, he did not have much time left. If he did not advance to divine transformation within another 100 or 200 years, he would have to resort to soul possession and blood exchange to accumulate foundation, losing the little 5 elements. King meant not only losing a son but also losing his future security and the century of painstaking planning he had invested. Thinking of all this, and seeing the dismissive look in the human king's eyes, the 5 elements, King's blood rushed to his heart in an instant. A trace of blood seeped from the corner of his mouth as rage consumed him. Du Gulay, I have tolerated you for far too long. Today marks the day the 9 provinces continent changes rulers. Today anyone who obstructs my revenge for my son is my mortal enemy. The 5 elements. King's hair stood on end in fury as he shouted, "Where are the cultivators of the 5 elements gate? Where are the cultivators of Yellow Province? The human king is unjust. He is shielding the murderer, causing my son Dugu Xiaoyuan to die tragically in the Void Refinement Grotto." Heaven. Today, we will demand an explanation from the human king. Gold element sun, fire element sun, wood element sun, earth element sun, and water element sun. 1 peak nascent soul cultivator and 4 late-stage nascent soul cultivators stood in the void. They declared in unison, "We request that the human king give the 5 kingdoms of Yellow Province an explanation." Furthermore, the 5 elements gate had 15 mid-stage and early-stage nascent soul elders in total. 6 had remained behind, and 9 had come today. These 9 nascent soul elders stood in the void, summoning their life-bound nascent soul magic treasures. They positioned themselves behind the 5 elements king and the 5 great elders. Their auras surged toward the heavens as they shouted in unison, "We request that the human king give the 5 elements gate an explanation." The 5 elements. King produced a token. The 5 elements. Mountain Dharma treasure erupted with a pressure that even nascent soul grand cultivators could not withstand. He issued his command. As the Grand Master of the Dugu royal clan, as the Grand Elder of the Human King Hall, I ask His Majesty the Human King, why have you strictly forbidden nascent soul cultivators throughout the realm from seizing others' bodies through soul possession? I request that His Majesty the Human King give an explanation to all nascent soul cultivators under heaven. At these words, the elders of the Human King Hall, the clan patriarchs of the divine continent's great families, the sect masters of the nascent soul sects across the 9 provinces, the masters of the 7 other superpowers, and the scattered nascent soul cultivators of the several hundred nascent soul true lords present today, fully half-stepped forward, responding to the 5 elements king and placing themselves in opposition to the human king. Among them were even several dozen nascent soul true lords from the heavenly envoy camp. They too had once come from the Human King Hall as the Human King's nominal disciples, bound by the teacher-student bond. The Human King looked at the more than 200 nascent soul true lords who had stepped forward. A trace of emotion finally flickered in his calm eyes. He let out a faint sigh. "I had thought you understood me. I had also thought you were willing to fight alongside me for the sake of future generations, for the sake of heritage, for the future of the 9 provinces. Now it seems I underestimated the selfishness and greed in your hearts, and overestimated the goodness in them." The human king, Du Gulay, let out a carefree laugh. "But fortunately, I still have many like-minded companions. My path is not lonely." More than 200 nascent soul cultivators flew forward, taking their stand behind Du Gulay. Their nascent soul magic treasures were summoned. Their auras surged with vast righteous aura. One could still see the youthful hearts within them. After several hundred years, they had never changed. Never forgetting one's original intention was the most difficult commitment to uphold. "We are willing to fight to the death for your majesty. We are willing to fight to the death for the 9 provinces." The 2 great factions, led by the human king and the 5 elements king respectively, unleashed their terrifying auras across the sky. The pressure cracked the heavens and sank the earth. Dark clouds gathered. Lightning tribulation began to coalesce. The 5 elements cycled and flowed. Nascent soul magic treasures filled the sky, and killing intent froze the void. The human king spoke in a deep voice, "I will ask one more time. 5 elements. King, do you truly intend to rebel? Does the Five Elements Gate intend to rebel? Does Yellow Province intend to rebel? Do all of you intend to rebel? Each word struck like thunder, shaking the soul. The crashing thunderbolts seized the hearts of all who heard them. The Five Elements. King's voice was cold. As long as your majesty is willing to hand over the murderer of my son today and give me an explanation, as long as your majesty is willing to revoke the 9 provinces nascent soul covenant signed 10,000 years ago, granting the aging nascent soul cultivators of the realm the freedom to extend their lifespans and seek immortal opportunities, giving all living beings an explanation, as long as your majesty is willing to destroy the heaven, severing Grand Formation and Red Banner Mountain, allowing the nascent soul cultivators trapped on Red Banner Mountain to escape their cage and return to the 9 provinces continent, giving them an explanation. The Five Elements. King clasped his hands in a formal salute. As long as your majesty is willing to give everyone an explanation, we will still honor you as king. No, we will honor you as human emperor. Human emperor? The human king laughed heartily at these words, his laughter filled with mockery, bold and unrestrained. Fools! The human king glared at them. The word fools hit them like 9 layers of thunderbolts crashing down from the heavens. The wrath of the human king was like the wrath of heaven itself. Behind the Five Elements King, many nascent soul true lords felt their hearts tremble and their courage falter. Before the battle had even begun, many of them had already grown fearful in their hearts. It was because they were facing the human king, the #1 expert of the 9 provinces continent, the spiritual leader whom some of them had once revered and believed in. The human king, Dugulay, spoke coldly. You foolish people, the only reason you were able to cultivate to the nascent soul stage, the only reason you can stand against me today, is because of the protection provided by the heaven-severing Grand Formation and Red Banner Mountain. I had intended to unify the 9 provinces, to command all cultivators of the 9 provinces to unite against external threats, and then use secret methods to activate the heaven-severing Grand Formation and Red Banner Mountain, helping our 9 provinces to usher in the awakening of the heavenly Tao and the revival of spiritual energy. And now, you rebel against me out of selfish motives? The human king stood firm and imposing with his 9-foot stature. His tiger-like eyes blazed with lightning. His thick brows flew upward as he roared in all directions. You are truly short-sighted, foolish beyond belief. The Five Elements. King erupted with his aura, blocking the human king's might. He said, "It seems your majesty does not intend to give us an explanation or grant all living beings their freedom." The human king clenched his right hand. In the void between heaven and earth, lightning converged, coalescing into a massive halberd 10 feet long. As soon as the lightning halberd appeared, it drew rolling heavenly thunder and surging electric light across the sky. He swung the halberd, pointing it directly at the Five Elements King and his followers. He said, "A group of rotten apples, living only to cause internal strife and exploit the weak like parasitic worms. Today, I will lead the heroes of the 9 provinces to sweep away these pests. Hear my kingly command, kill the 5 elements." King directly summoned the 5 Elements Mountain. The treasure mountain, 1,000 jang high, shot forward, grinding away the lightning as it hurtled toward the human king. He roared, "Dugulay, we have clashed 3 times before, and each time I lost to you by a single move. Today I will prove to the world who is the #1 expert of the 9 provinces continent." The human king swung his halberd and hurled it through the air, shouting, "Break!" The halberd flew forth, transforming into 1,000 zhang-long flaming arrow that streaked across the sky. The power of lightning friction burned through the void, igniting flames for 10,000 zhang. The power of thunder and fire poured into the halberd as it struck the 5 Elements Mountain. With a thunderous boom, the halberd and the mountain clashed, causing the very sky to change color. For 100 li in every direction, spiritual light exploded violently. The surrounding mountain ranges shattered, mountain after mountain collapsed, landslides and mudslides rolled downward. The ground split open, and magma erupted from deep within the earth. Nascent soul. True lords were sent flying by the shockwaves. They stared in terror at the place where the human king and the 5 Elements King had clashed. They cried out in fear. This kind of energy has triggered a great transformation of heaven and earth. It must be the artistic conception of divine transformation. It's the artistic conception of divine transformation. The human king and the five elements king have both cultivated primordial spirits. The human king brandished his halberd, summoning the profound meaning of lightning as he charged forward. His halberd strokes were grand and sweeping, his bearing domineering and peerless. Lightning transformed into flood dragons that devoured mountains and rivers. The five elements king hovered with the five elements mountain above his head, the five elemental key protecting his body. His life-bound magic treasure, the heaven's mandate saber, was in his hand. The saber light tore through the void as he clashed head-on with the human king. A loud boom rang out. The halberd and the long saber collided head-on, causing ripples in the void. The grating sonic booms pierced the eardrums. Clang, clang, clang. High in the sky, the human king and the five elements king exchanged blows. Their terrifying magical power erupted, shining like the sun and moon as they chased and overtook each other. Two great masses of light energy continuously collided and hammered against each other. The human king swung his halberd with both hands, bringing it down in a violent overhead strike. He roared, "Get lost!" A loud boom sounded. The human king was like a god of thunder commanding lightning. The thunder god's fury descended. The halberd struck down, directly shattering the five elements saber light and sending the heaven's mandate saber flying. Then it struck the protective barrier of the five elements mountain with brutal force, sending the five elements mountain and the five elements king flying back 100 jang before crashing into a great mountain. The five elements king flew out from the mountain. The five elements mountain hovered above his head, five colored light swirling and five elemental key protecting his body. Blood seeped from the corner of his mouth. With a wave of his right hand, his life-bound magic treasure, the heaven's mandate saber, flew back to him. The heaven's mandate saber hummed softly. Lightning arcs flickered along its blade, fiercely suppressing the saber's edge. The human king's gaze was domineering. Heaven's mandate saber, eh? Not a bad name, but the saber itself is lacking. To say the saber was lacking was to say the man was lacking. The five elements. King trembled with rage. He formed hand seals with both hands and roared, "Five elements, true nascent art." A series of booming sounds echoed. The five elements. King activated this technique, which could be said to seize the very creative power of heaven and earth. 5 peak nascent soul Dharma images were summoned, genuine peak nascent soul, grand cultivators, each wielding a nascent soul magic treasure. Their power was terrifying and boundless. The human king's expression remained calm. 10,000 years ago, before the founding ancestor Dugu Taishuan advanced to divine transformation, he created this technique. He fought without defeat against all nascent soul cultivators under heaven, shaking the world with his fame. To cultivate this technique, one must gather the nascent souls of peak, nascent soul cultivators, warm them with the sun and moon, and only then can they be used for one's own purposes. It seems you have expended no small effort to cultivate the strongest form of the five elements' true nascent art, killing 5 peak nascent soul cultivators, seizing their nascent souls, and warming them with the sun and moon. That was naturally a great undertaking. No, you are wrong. A cold smile appeared on the five elements king's handsome face. Killing intent swirled in his eyes. 3 of them came to find me before they were forced onto Red Banner Mountain by you. When they heard that I possessed this secret technique, they agreed to serve my purposes. Those 3 had only one wish, to kill you. Boom! The moment the word kill left his mouth, the five elements king charged forward once more. The 5 peak nascent soul Dharma images transformed into 100 Zhang giants. 5 magic treasures were simultaneously summoned, their killing power unmatched. Even more terrifying was that the 5 elements king also struck at the same time. The heaven's mandate, saber slashed out. The saber edge tore through heaven and earth. A massive saber light pierced through the void, arriving before the human king. Witnessing such destructive power, Li Qingyuan felt a chill run down his spine. He could only inwardly exclaim, "Gods fighting! This is truly a battle of gods." Chapter 423, Battle of Two Kings, Nascent Soul War. The power displayed by the human king and the 5 elements king was utterly absurd, beyond all reason. This was simply not the level that nascent soul cultivators could achieve. This was a battle between divine transformation grandmasters. The human king's gaze was contemptuous. What does it matter if your five elements' true nascent art has reached perfection? No matter how strongly you cultivate, you remain at the nascent soul level. As the five elements king faced him, with the five nascent soul peak cultivators and their five peak nascent soul treasures simultaneously attacking, the human king's eyes blazed like torches, and deep within his pupils, lightning flickered. Thunderbolt of 10,000 Jun. The human king swept his great halberd, and thunder roared from the 9 heavens above. Lightning bolts tore across the sky, striking endlessly toward the 5 nascent soul peak cultivators. Boom after boom echoed. The essence of thunder contained the law of destruction. Every strike carried the force of 10,000 Jun. The power of heavenly thunder descended, erupting into fierce flames. The essence of thunder and fire exploded, shaking heaven and earth. The 5 nascent soul treasures were sent flying. The 5 nascent soul peak giants were struck down by the thunderbolts, their bodies charred black, their magical power dispersing, thunder force surging through their forms. The human king swung his halberd. The 10-foot weapon tore through the air, instantly transforming into a 100-foot halberd that split the sky, drawing down the 9 heavens thunder to strike the white gold giant directly. It pierced through the 100-foot giant's abdomen, instantly shredding a peak-level nascent soul. A thunderous boom echoed through the air. The world-destroying force of the thunder exploded. Thunderclouds roiled across the sky, heavenly fire rolled and erupted, and the power of thunder and fire was unleashed simultaneously. The white gold giant was annihilated entirely. The 5 elements. King's expression grew grave, yet he remained calm, his gaze deep and profound. He arrived before the human king, seizing the moment when the human king sacrificed his life-bound treasure to kill the 5 nascent soul giants. His heaven's mandate, saber, descended. The heaven's mandate saber was the 5 elements, king's life-bound treasure, already half a step into the category of divine transformation treasures. This strike split space itself as it fell, a 100-foot blade aura shooting straight toward the human king's brow. The 5 elements. King's timing was impeccable. The 5 nascent soul giants had occupied the human king's attention, and the white gold giant had sacrificed itself to restrain the human king's thunder halberd. The 5 elements king was confident. His ultimate strike was unstoppable by any nascent soul cultivator. Even the human king, having briefly lost his life-bound treasure, could not easily block it. Thunderclap fist, a loud boom echoed. The human king punched. This strike was a perfect fusion of physical body, magical power, primordial spirit, and the essence of thunder. With every gesture, he suppressed mountains and rivers. A loud bang rang out, the heaven's mandate. Saber descended, colliding with the thunderclap fist's radiance. Instantly, saber energy scattered in all directions, thunderlight exploded, and the 2 forces ground against each other, devouring one another, forming a black hole of energy. With a thunderous roar, the energy black hole exploded. The shockwaves rolled across 100 miles without cease. Even the human king and the 5 elements king were knocked backward by the blast. At the same time, the thunder halberd, carrying the human king's thunder essence, drew down the 3-colored thunderclouds from the 9 heavens, unleashing rolling thunderclaps. It sent the nascent soul treasures flying, pierced through the 4 remaining nascent soul peak giants one after another, shattered their nascent souls, and broke the technique entirely. The 5 elements. King took a deep breath. Though I knew long ago that this method could no longer defeat you, today's battle still leaves me somewhat disappointed. A hint of wariness surfaced deep in the 5 elements king's eyes. You truly obtained that mysterious supreme treasure from our ancestors' ascension to divine transformation and have fully entered that level. They had not fought in centuries. After several rounds of probing, the 5 elements king had fully understood the human king's realm and cultivation, and his gaze grew increasingly cautious. The human king shook his head. True divine transformation is as difficult as ascending to heaven. The heavenly Tao of the 9 provinces continent is incomplete, its laws incomplete. Without crossing the divine transformation tribulation, one cannot truly become a divine transformation cultivator. Moreover, once a cultivator above divine transformation makes a move, the power of heaven and earth will seize their fortune to complete itself. The human king said, I can only be considered a false god realm. I am well aware of this. The 5 elements. King laughed coldly. So, no matter what, you cannot escape defeat today, human king. Boom. The five elements. King summoned the five elements mountain, suspending it above his head. He formed hand seals, and five-colored radiance cascaded down like silk tassels. Within the space sat a divine soul, identical to the five elements king, incredibly solid, almost like a living person. As the divine soul emerged, its eyes opened and divine light blazed from its gaze. Threads of primordial spirit power spread, and the artistic conception of divine transformation erupted. This was the second divine transformation artistic conception that the five elements king had comprehended through cultivating his divine soul, Split. The five elements artistic conception. Five elements. Secret art. Divine soul unification. The five elements divine soul entered his body, returning to the five elements king. Instantly, the two primordial spirits merged. The heavens mandate. Saber intent was indestructible, cutting through all things with fierce and domineering force. The five elements. Artistic conceptions cycled through the five elements, generating and overcoming each other in endless rotation. A loud boom echoed. The five elements. King's cultivation finally broke through its shackles, transcending the nascent soul peak. Half a step into divine transformation, he too had reached the false god level. Moreover, his primordial spirit had advanced further, nearly reaching the primordial spirit power of a mid-stage divine transformation cultivator. Within the Xuanpin space, the undying bird and Zhao Guanzheng praised endlessly. At its peak, the 9 provinces continent was indeed a top-tier celestial domain, ranked among the 9 heavens, 10 earths, and all the myriad realms. Even after 10,000 years of silence, with the strong returning to heaven and earth one after another, even in this age of declining Dharma, outstanding talents continue to emerge, and monsters are born. The undying bird commented, "This five elements king may have poor character, but if he were born in the 9 heavens and 10 earths, with his talent and comprehension, he would surely ascend to great ascension in the future." Zhao Guanzheng nodded and added, "This human king is even more remarkable. His thunder technique mastery has already surpassed the divine transformation level. If not for the limitations of heaven and earth, which greatly reduce the power of his thunder techniques and prevent true divine transformation advancement, otherwise, with his talent, he would have already transcended divine transformation and advanced to void refinement. Great ascension would only be a matter of time for him." The undying bird nodded. "These two possess special treasures and have comprehended powerful artistic conception forces. They appear to be only at the false god level, but in the 9 heavens and 10 earths, even ordinary early-stage divine transformation cultivators might not be their match. They are not divine transformation now, yet they surpass divine transformation." Li Qingyuan was stunned, speechless. Such high praise, not divine transformation, yet surpassing divine transformation. As his words fell, the 5 elements, King's heaven's mandate, Saber struck. This attack extinguished the thunder of the 9 heavens. Saber intent merged with the 5 elements, artistic conception, unleashing a terrifying killing force that could split the 3-colored thunder tribulation. For the first time, the human king's expression shifted. He praised, "5 elements king, in all the 9 provinces, across 1,000 years of time, you are indeed my only opponent." But only an opponent. A loud boom sounded. Within the human king's body, the treasure Ascension Pagoda emerged. The pagoda radiated light in all directions, its pressure overwhelming the 5 elements mountain. "Go!" The human king hurled the pagoda. Thunder bloomed from the treasure, its power spreading as it collided head-on with the 5 elements mountain. A mountain and a pagoda, each carrying the 2 kings' divine transformation artistic conceptions, clashed and fought endlessly. They shattered the sky, reversed the 5 elements, and overturned yin and yang. The human king then swung his halberd, engaging in close combat with the 5 elements king, who wielded the heaven's mandate saber. Their battle was not merely a collision of physical bodies, but also a contest of condensed magical power, and even more, a clash of divine transformation artistic conceptions. 3 booming sounds echoed. Above the sky, the 5 elements king erupted with the pressure of a supreme expert. At this moment, his sharpness, his five elements saber intent, was such that even the human king could barely suppress it. The battle of the two kings was like twin suns hanging across the sky, spanning the 9 provinces. Kill, gold element. Sun, fire element sun, and the 5 of them immediately made their move, leading the 9 nascent soul elders of the 5 elements gate and over 200 other nascent soul cultivators into battle. Gold element, sun, with his nascent soul peak cultivation, struck at the secret realm prodigies, shouting, "Aside from the foundation establishment prodigies of our faction, kill all prodigies of the enemy faction." The foundation establishment prodigies of their faction flew over, each seeking out their own patriarchs to rejoin their groups. Gold element. Sun then struck out with his palm. His attack swept past the approaching prodigies and targeted the 400 or so behind them. A white-gold giant hand descended from the sky, intending to annihilate Li Qingyuan and the others. Li Qingyuan, Zhao Zhu, Yu Xiaoer, Zhao Tongshuan, all of them looked up. Facing a nascent soul peak cultivator, they were too insignificant, far too insignificant. For a golden core cultivator to face a nascent soul peak cultivator was a gap even greater than that between a key refining cultivator and a peak golden core cultivator, and even harder to cross. Boom! A giant hand of heavenly fire descended from the sky, blocking gold element sun. An old man with red hair and a red robe stood in the air, shattering the white-gold giant hand. He said contemptuously, "Gold element, sun, you truly have no shame at all. If you want to fight, this old man will fight with you." Gold element sun snorted coldly. "Heavenly fire, you old scoundrel, I will suppress you today." A booming sound echoed. Heavenly fire, true lord and gold element, sun immediately clashed. At the same time, across several hundred miles, the two nascent soul factions engaged in battle. Nascent soul true lords flew across the sky, summoning their nascent soul treasures. 4th-tier talismans killed enemies. 4th-tier pills restored strength. 4th-tier magical tools tore through the air. 4th-tier puppets assisted. 4th-tier spirit pets and beasts took the field one after another. Nascent soul true lords displayed their divine abilities, unleashing killing moves in succession. Li Qingyuan and the gathered golden core prodigies watched, dazzled and dizzy. Magnificent, truly magnificent. Even when cultivators waged war, the battle scenes were a form of art. Xia Si was one of the defectors, the patrol envoy of Jin Kingdom among the 7 kingdoms of Huang Province, and also the master of a first-rate nascent soul sect. "Miaolei, you are not worthy to stand with me." Xia Si flew through the air, her late-stage nascent soul cultivation erupting. Her treasure, the red sleeve vermilion silk, swept through the sky as she attacked. "Humph! The number 1 on Huang Province's 1,000 beauties list? You are not worthy either." Xia Si attacked Miaolei without mercy. Miaolei's expression changed. She immediately activated her 4 symbols talisman array and sent it out, then summoned a 4th-tier low-grade puppet to block in front of her. 3 bangs rang out, the remaining sets of 4 symbols. Talisman arrays exploded one after another. The 4th-tier low-grade talisman puppet shattered, and the 4th-tier demon beast core inside it broke as well. Yet they still could not stop Xia Si, a late-stage nascent soul grand cultivator. Fortunately, they had consumed about 30 to 40% of her attack power. Miaolei immediately activated the Yi Wood longevity art. The seed of longevity within her body erupted, releasing the nascent soul tribulation lightning power that she had absorbed and refined during her tribulation crossing and temporarily stored within the seed of longevity. A booming sound echoed. Miaolei waved her hand, sending the nascent soul tribulation lightning power out. It struck the red sleeve vermilion silk head-on, once again grinding away 50% of the late-stage nascent soul grand cultivator's killing move. The peach tree is young and elegant, its flowers brilliant and bright. Miaolei's clasped hands slowly opened. Her life-bound treasure, the peach blossom lotus platform, bloomed. The lotus platform spun through the air, and the lotus spat out a red cloud of light that struck the red sleeve vermilion silk. A loud bang echoed. The red sleeve vermilion silk was sent flying, then recalled by Xia Si, who wrapped it around her waist and wrists. Xia Si was greatly shocked. "You managed to block my full power strike and repel my life-bound treasure." The gap between a late-stage nascent soul cultivator and an early-stage nascent soul cultivator was even greater than that between a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator and an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator. When a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator killed an early-stage one, it was a complete rout. Thus, the gap between nascent soul true lords was all the larger. Yet Xia Si, a late-stage nascent soul grand cultivator, had struck with full power and even used her treasure, only to be blocked by Miaole. Miaole caught her lotus platform treasure, her delicate body flying backward over 10 jang. Deep wariness surfaced in her eyes. With my current trump cards, mid-stage nascent soul is nothing to fear, but late-stage nascent soul, also called grand cultivator, far surpasses mid-stage nascent soul. I cannot face them head-on at my current level. Xia Si looked at Miaole, whose beauty was unparalleled and whose features were stunning. Sensing her astonishing potential and combat power that exceeded her early-stage nascent soul cultivation, Xia Si felt her killing intent grow even stronger. Such a monster. I truly cannot let you live. Xia Si waved his hands, sending out 3 flying swords, each a 4th-tier mid-grade treasure. All 3 flew together, attacking Miaole as fast as streaks of light. Miaole's expression changed. Even using her lotus platform treasure, she could only block 1 flying sword. The other 2 flying swords were already upon her. 2 dings sounded. 2 streaks of light shot through the air. Needle-shaped treasures struck the 4th-tier flying swords. Sparks flew from the collision in mid-air, and both sides were sent flying back. A figure in black robes stepped through the air, saying, "Fellow Taoist Miaole, let me assist you." Black robes covered the face, but the hands holding the embroidery needle treasure were long, slender, fair, and warm like jade. The newcomer's nascent soul divine sense locked onto Xia Si as she sneered, "Old witch, after all these years, you are still as shameless as ever." "You are?" Xia Si was momentarily stunned, then seemed to think of something. She shrieked, "It's you! You're still alive?" That's right, it's me." The black-robed figure surged with magical power, instantly tearing apart the black robe to reveal a tall, graceful figure. Dressed in red, with a curvaceous figure, she held an embroidery needle. "Senior sister, you didn't expect this, did you? Not only am I not dead, but I also had the fortune to join the Human King's Hall, received the cultivation of the Vermilion Bird Envoy, advanced to late-stage nascent soul, and became the patrol envoy of Yan Kingdom in Hong Province. Today, the karma between us should be settled." A loud boom echoed. The Yan Kingdom patrol envoy attacked, sending out her treasured embroidery needle. Countless flying needles pierced through the air, dense as a rainstorm. The rainstorm pear blossom needle shot out, attacking Xia Si. Xia Si snorted coldly, sending out her red sleeve vermilion silk treasure. She said contemptuously, "Junior sister, I could kill you once and I can kill you a second time. The sect master position is mine, no one can touch it." Bang, 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 countless flying needles and the vermilion silk treasure clashed. 2 late-stage nascent soul cultivators engaged in life and death combat. Their moves were vicious, and as enemies met face to face, their eyes burned with hatred. Seeing this, Miaole chose a mid-stage nascent soul enemy from the opposing faction. Though she was only at early-stage nascent soul perfection, she could fight across levels. Even having lost her 4th-tier low-grade corpse puppet and her 4 symbols talisman arrays, she could still fight evenly, not falling behind. Occupying 1 mid-stage nascent soul enemy was her contribution to the battle. This scene played out everywhere. Some fellow disciples from the same sect split apart that day. Some nascent soul true lords from the same kingdom became enemies. Some former friends cut off their friendship that day, fighting for their respective beliefs. Across several hundred miles, various 4th-tier spells, magical tools, talismans, and nascent soul treasures clashed. Secret techniques fought, and their destructive power shattered mountain after mountain. The Golden Core prodigies could not intervene at all. They retreated one after another. Li Qingyuan, Wang Fugi, and the others flew back several hundred miles to a safe place to watch. Li Qingyan was filled with shock. This scale of battle was enough to level a world-class metropolis from his previous life, turning several hundred or even 1,000 miles into ruins. Especially striking were the 2 powerful figures high in the sky, chasing each other like blazing suns. A loud boom echoed. Another collision. 5 elements. Saber intent and thunder artistic conception intertwined and clashed. The two figures each retreated 100 zhong, facing off across the void. The five elements. King's cold eyes fixed on the human king, strong confidence surged within him, and the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. Several hundred years, a full several hundred years, I have closed the gap between us. From now on, you will find it difficult to suppress me. The human king commented, "Five elements king, you can indeed be called a heaven-defying genius." The divine soul secret art, created by the first generation five elements, gate and continuously researched and refined by generations of five elements kings, has indeed burst forth with brilliance in your hands, surpassing your predecessors. The human king's eyes shot out arcs of electricity. An even greater power of thunder and physical strength erupted. His voice was like thunder. "Today I will let you witness my true power. Physical body power open." Boom! In an instant, the thunder of the nine heavens became even more domineering and fierce. The human king bathed in 10,000 thunderbolts, like an ancient living being walking out of an ocean of thunder. His entire body was covered in electric light. Every hair on his flying phoenix tail brows, every strand of his flowing 3-foot-long hair, the light in his eyes, all of it was transformed from thunder. His coiled dragon cloak was shredded by the thunder. His 9-foot-tall body revealed strong, broad muscles. Every inch of muscle was forged from the essence of thunder. The human king stood in the sky, spanning the heavenly gate. The power of his physical body suppressed the entire scene. He too was half a step into the divine transformation stage. The five elements. King's expression changed drastically. Body and chi dual cultivation. When did you start body cultivation? The human king laughed uproariously. Every thunder spirit root cultivator is a natural body cultivation candidate, let alone me. Five elements. King, you have indeed given me a pleasant surprise. The human king's eyes shot out thunder. Today, I will also give you a great gift. Thunder. God body. The human king raised his right hand, and his halberd flew to him. One man, one halberd, bathed in thunder. Thunder primordial spirit, thunder physical body, two paths united as one. The law of thunder suddenly surged. The affairs of the 9 provinces are under my control. With my true key, I unite with the fortune of heaven and earth. Lord of thunder, aid me. Boom! The human king swung his halberd with both hands, drawing down the thunder of the 9 heavens. Thunder raged within his body as well. Internal and external thunder merged. Surging thunderlight tore through the sky, severing the heavens' mandate. Saber intent and shattering the 5 elements. Artistic conception. Boom, 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 boom. The human king became one with the thunder. He struck until the 5-colored radiance grew dim, forcing the 5 elements king and the 5 elements mountain to continuously withdraw their sharpness, shifting from offense to defense. After dozens of exchanges, a streak of light was sent flying 100 miles. Along the way, it crashed through and shattered mountain after mountain before finally smashing into the ground. The earth surged with waves, ancient towering trees split apart, and the ground rose like a tide. The 5 elements. King's expression changed. He could hardly believe it. He looked unwilling as he said, "After centuries of hibernation, with the 5 elements' true nascent art perfected and the divine soul unification secret art complete, I have still lost." Watching the human king fly through the air toward him, the 5 elements king shot into the sky. "But you, Du Gulei, are not qualified to kill me." 5 elements, mountain, 5-colored earth. A booming sound echoed. Within the 5 elements mountain, the treasure's origin, the 5-colored earth, spread out, forming a 5-colored protective barrier. It contained innate 5-element power and manifested innate 5-element runes, blocking the surging thunderlight and the human king's thunder halberd. 10,000 thunderbolts struck, but the 5-element light barrier stood unmoving. Retreat. The 5 elements king gave the order. The 5 elements gate, the yellow province, nascent soul cultivators, and the nascent soul true lords from various affiliated provinces all gathered together, entering the 5-colored earth. Once the 5-colored earth appeared, it was invulnerable to all techniques. Even the human king could not break through it for the moment. Even if over 200 nascent soul true lords joined forces, they could not break the innate 5-element rune restrictions. Withdraw to Yellow Province first. I already have a plan. In the future, I will surely counterattack the 9 provinces. The 5 elements. King held the 5 elements mountain above his head, forming a perfect defense 1,000 jang in radius. He led over 200 nascent soul true lords away. 5 colored earth? Li Qingyuan watched the 5 elements king and the others vanish into the distant sky. His eyes remained fixed on the direction where the 5 elements mountain had disappeared. The Xuanpin space hummed, conveying a hungry desire to its master. This devouring desire was directed at the 5 colored earth. Li Qingyuan comforted it inwardly. Don't worry, I will find a way to get that 5 colored earth and let you devour it. Whether the Xuanpin space could evolve was crucial to him, because this was his greatest trump card, his greatest cheat.